y'all doing?
Girl, it has been a minute. 20 years to be exact. But now I'm back. To everyone's dismay. First things first, this turned out to be wrong. I'm so sorry. Let me explain. Use the chapters to skip if you're not interested. So when I made this post, I only had a little bit of footage left to respond to. All that was left to do was review the first draft, add in editing, clips, etc. But iMovie kept crashing and freezing until eventually my storage was full and I couldn't continue working. Deleting sections from the video didn't help either. So I'm like, okay, well the speed paint and other videos are already implemented into this one, let me delete them and make space. Little did I know that iMovie requires content to be saved on the device in order to do anything. So with everything gone and my recycle bin cleared, the video is basically dead. So I'm trying to fix it, but the damage is done and the deadline's been passed. And I'm like, bro, I gotta tell these people there's not gonna be a video after months of waiting. But then an eternity later, I remember, Noah, at one point you saved everything you had to the cloud. See if the videos are there. And almost everything was. I mainly just need my speed paint doodles and they were there. But I still ran into the issue of not having enough space on my 32 gig iPad. So I got the 128 gig iPad and transferred everything there and re-recorded. There were some other problems as well, but y'all ain't here for my iPad misadventures. Y'all are here to know my personal opinions that no one asked for, specifically about the Robot Man. Anyway, on to the actual topic of the video. I want to do a mini recap / explanation as to what all has happened, partially because it's been like 20 years and partially because things are just flying by some of y'all's heads. So as y'all know, a while back I made 2 videos criticizing Just the Robot. I was sick of the commentary community never holding him accountable for his actions, spreading the narrative that Jar was falsely labeled a racist, as well as he and his stands invalidating anyone who labeled him as such due to Jar's own actions. I had yet to see a black person sit down and talk about why they felt this way about Jar, so I did. Didn't expect them getting traction or anything. I just wanted to vent about something that's been bothering me for a minute, and apparently it resonated people. Just like how his black friends and subscribers have the right to give their opinion on the matter, so did I. Black people aren't a monolith, and we all have different standards regarding anti-black racism. So whether it was in the comment section, the description box, or even the videos themselves, I made it clear that all this was my personal opinion as one black person. I literally say, but hey, that's my personal opinion that no one asked for that very reason. On top of that, I sourced all the content I was referring to and encouraged people to watch these videos so they can form their own opinions. Because again, one person. I stated multiple times that I don't care if other black folks disagree with me and explain why they disagree. Like, I don't care if y'all personally don't think he's racist, that's y'all's right and that's y'all's business. I take issue with the fact that a lot of Jar's black supporters will go out of their way to invalidate, insult, or mock anyone who expresses their grievances with the man. Just don't tell me how to feel about racism and don't act like people are irrational for being offended. Like, that was my big thing. So long as people remain respectful and didn't do anything I previously mentioned, then we were cool. Like, we can agree to disagree, there's nothing wrong with that. There's room at the table for everybody, you know? Funny how the same courtesy is never extended to anyone who's critical of Jar, but more on that later. In the past, I stated that while I currently believe Jar's racist, I still thought he was capable of change and growth, because anyone is. My personal belief was that so long as criticism remains constructive and personal insults were avoided, then people would be more willing to listen to criticism, so I took that approach with him. But then I watched Just Robot's response video to me. Yeah, I don't think that anymore. This man has shown time and time again that he's willfully ignorant, and I regret ever giving him the benefit of the doubt. In response to me saying, every time you're confronted about your race content, you either double down, make excuses, or deny any wrongdoing, Jar said, let's prove a point by doing all the above. Again, in an attempt to debunk, quote-unquote, my opinion that he's a racist, he's repeating the behavior that made me think he's racist in the first place. Not only that, he stood by the content I had previously said, hey guys, keep in mind, Jar probably doesn't think this way anymore. Like, I'm honestly in disbelief. Like, y'all are different. Y'all real different. What also gets me is that this video completely negated any argument that Jar has grown as a person. A person who has grown would have said, hey guys, in the past I made anti-SJW content. The things I said were offensive and ignorant. I've since educated myself and I no longer stand by these videos. I apologize to everyone who I've hurt and I'll work hard to better myself in the future. That's it. That's the bare minimum. No excuses, no counter arguments, no personal opinions that void any apologies, just taking accountability and apologizing. That's what actual growth looks like. Jar does the exact opposite time and time again and then gets mad that people still think poorly of him. 2 common arguments I've seen from the stands are that Jar has already debunked all this, or Jar has the right to defend himself from these accusations. And it's like, bro, you can't debunk racism? Like you can't debunk something as not being racist or offensive to me. And me expressing that isn't an accusation that can be proven false. I don't know who lied to y'all and told y'all that's a thing, but it's not. And there's also the added layer of non-black people thinking they can tell me about anti-black racism, and it's like, that's not a thing either, sis. This concept goes for any minority or marginalized group, be it race, sexuality, gender, disability, whatever. If someone says this is offensive to me as an X person, then you, a non-X person, can't determine that it isn't. And another X person saying, hey, as an X person this isn't offensive to me, doesn't give you a pass. So when Just a Robot, a white man whose sole understanding of racism is the second Oxford definition, is telling my black ass about anti-black racism, hopefully you can understand the problem here. Because what have I been saying? Do not tell me how to feel about racism. That is one of my base pet peeves, and at this point, my patience with this man is just gone. I'm done with the hand holding, I'm done trying to be nice. They don't care, so I'm gonna be as straightforward and petty as I please. Y'all gonna hear a lot of the same points I made in my last video because, again, this man learns nothing, so let's just get into it. And per usual, I'll be using this sound if I need y'all to look at something on screen, because I'm just incapable of making short videos.
Here we go!
So I'm doing something I've never done before, actually record a video while I'm at work. So if you hear any background sounds, well, sorry about that, guys. So I got some more racism allegations, hooray! Why did this person do a video on me? Well, it's because I left a comment. I'm not joking here.
No, Jar, it wasn't just a comment. In the comment thread, you were supporting the narrative that you being called out for racism was unwarranted and debunked, as well as you saying everyone says racial slurs in response to someone saying they don't feel bad for you. You were showing that you learned nothing and regret nothing, yet again. That's why I made my video. Had you just left it at Creepshow hurt me, my friend's comment, we wouldn't be here. Hi, Future Me here. I also want to add that I love that Jar is pushing narrative that he just posted the comment. When one, as I said earlier, people took issue with his two other comments under his original comment, that's what started all this. And two, man's got his whole other account and started replying to people. And I know this is Jar because a month prior to the situation happening in June, he announced that he got his original channel back in May. So it's like, it's so blatantly manipulative to not only just downplay what you said to upset people of color, but to ignore how you instigate the situation that you started. Like, this community gives this man a pass on everything, bro. And it's like, we need an overhaul. We need a serious overhaul. Feature Me out.
A lot of people say they don't want me to talk about drama so much anymore, but a lot of people also wanted me to cover this video. So I decided to cover this video on my old channel instead of the new one. Plus, this also works because, well, most of their points against me have to do with this channel. And it's also kind of funny because last time I did a video on a racist, and now I'm the one being accused of being a racist.
Hey, so fun fact, racism isn't drama. It's complex and upsetting subject matter that actually hurts people. Now let me be transparent. When my first video went live, I liked every comment, positive, negative, whatever. That was irresponsible of me and, again, bad. Will not do it again. But one of the comments I liked was a white lady talking about how she loves when drama branches off into new drama. And it's like, bro, the fact that y'all just see this as drama, that is, in itself is a privilege. I also like how he says, now I'm the one being accused of being racist. Like, bro, that's your main takeaway from the video? Nothing introspective like, wow, my content offended a lot of people. How can I make things right? Like, none of that. But he's grown and changed, right? Okay. And again, me saying these offensive actions are the reason I personally think this man is racist isn't an accusation that can be disproven. That's me giving my perspective as a black person who was roughly offended by this man's content.
But before we begin, I just want to ask all of you to please not attack this person. They're clearly new to YouTube considering this is their first video. Oh my god, they made another video and it's about me. But I really hope this is the last time I will have to address these allegations. Unfortunately, it probably isn't.
Hey guys, please don't attack this person because she's new. But here's her name and thumbnail so y'all can find her. like bro, you've been in the game far too long. You know exactly what you're doing. Also, bro, like I said in my first video, people still think you're racist because of you. Because of videos like this where you don't listen to the minorities you offended. The fact that you call all these accusations just speaks for itself. I really didn't want this to be the first video on my channel.
I mean, it didn't have to be, you could have waited. But if you did wait, the Creepshow art drama wouldn't have been as relevant. And you couldn't have used the Creepshow art drama to call me a racist.
But what?
Jar, I made my first video when I did because your comments and repeat behavior upset me as a black woman in this space. And as someone who continuously gave you the benefit of the doubt. I wanted to vent about something that kept on bothering me and it just happened to gain traction. And maybe I'm tripping, but this sounds like projection. Because a lot of y'all really just make Creepshow art videos just to get a check, and it showed. I want my first video to be about the rampant racism in the Genshin Impact community.
Does anybody even care about that game? I've certainly never played it, but you do you, I guess.
Yes, Genshin Impact has millions of players worldwide. The game made like $1 billion in mobile revenue alone within its first year. And I know this seems insignificant, but as we go further, we're going to establish a pattern of Jar just speaking on topics that are easily researchable. Like, if he can't even Google to know if a game is popular, do y'all really think he's going to research the importance of intersectionality among marginalized groups? But we'll get there. A vast majority of the comments are applauding Emily for her bravery, expressing sympathy for the trauma she endured, condemning Anthony and Creepshow for the literal demons they are, etc., etc. But as I kept scrolling, I came across a comment from one Just the Robot. The comment reads, "Creepshow art hurt me and friends of mine for almost nothing. The sad thing is, even when she was hurting my friends, they defended her because she helped them out in the past and they didn't want to believe it." Now, the issue I took with this comment was the first section, Creepshow art hurt me. Now, this can be interpreted as Creepshow art hurt me because she hurt my friends, and this could very well be true.
It was also pretty cool of Emily Artful to heart my comment. A lot of people seem to have a problem with it, saying I was making it all about myself, even though I said, and my friends, but whatever.
I'm pretty indifferent to the argument itself, but it's like, Jar, you bring up your friends doesn't mean you're not making things about yourself. Your friends still involve you. You're still talking about how she affected you by hurting your friends, in response to someone else talking about how Creepshow art traumatized them. Again, I'm indifferent towards the argument itself. Maybe he did make it about himself, maybe he didn't, I don't care. I just wanted to add that because it seemed like a poor counter argument and it just bothered me.
But yes, hurting my friends did hurt me. Did you not see the 5 videos I made defending Hopeless Peaches? Or the time she called my friend Manga Common sexist because he didn't swear in front of her?
Make a comment. Let it be known that I so appreciate the fact that you try to keep it classy in front of us women by not swearing. I really do appreciate that because my fragile little constitution simply cannot handle any form of cussing. If I hear someone swear even a little bit, I just fall to pieces. So thank you for that, my most chivalrous gentleman. That's so strange that you need to feel the need to not do that, but alright.
You're arguing against a point I never made. Like, I never claimed nor doubted that you weren't hurt because you hurt your friends. Now, I can own up and say I should have specified that more outside of saying that could very well be true. So, yeah, that's my bad. However, if you read the comment thread, it's very clear that he's referring to when Creepshow art called him a racist.
Well, she actually called me a super racist, and if you don't know what a super racist is, I believe it's someone who's an admitted racist. Like someone who you call racist and they just respond with, and?
Why is he talking about the semantics of super racist like it's a household phrase that everyone uses? When discussing the hierarchy of the types of racism like systemic racism and microaggressions, I've never heard the term super racist used nor defined. As it stands right now, it sounds like he just talked about what he considers a super racist to be to make himself look better, and I don't know. Like, see guys, Jar's isn't a super racist, he's just a regular racist.
But I'm just nitpicking here. What she said was no big deal. But it's more than just that. You see, she called me that after my apology, and we also talked a little bit in the comment section. She was upset that I said Izzy looked like a map, and I decided to edit that part out. What I said was stupid. I really only said it because she looked like Pennywise and he's always chasing after kids.
You all taste so much better when you're afraid.
But considering that Izzy called Mario because she aged up characters, I think what she did was worse.
Girl, this added nothing new to the narrative. In the comment thread, y'all are solely referring to when Creepshow called you racist. Izzy and them weren't mentioned, nor were they relevant to that conversation. You said all this just to say you were hurt that Creepshow art called you racist. Also, I was trying to avoid this since my original video is already sped up and I've been told that it's difficult to understand. But, bro, this is taking forever. I have to speed this up, I'm sorry. I'll have everything linked in the description so y'all can watch it if it's too difficult to understand, but yeah, I'm sorry.
But she did take down that video, and I'm a lot more cool with her now. Despite being as compliant with her as I could, she just randomly called me that in a video. And she also called my friend Manga Common sexist, which hurt me. At the time, she thought we were trying to defend Hopeless Peaches and we made the doc, I think. Was I really hurt and just crippled with depression? Not really, that's why I only said it in one comment. Peaches was the one who got the worst of it, that's why I made 5 videos defending her.
Again, arguing against a point I never made.
Someone replied to this comment saying, I found it funny that even though all the accusations about you being racist were proven to be false, Creepshow still controlled the false narrative that you were in her second Peaches video, even though all those accusations had already been proven false. What an absolute clown. I'm sorry for what you've been through, man. And again, I'm sorry for believing that you were racist in the first place. I wish only the best for you. I replied to his blatant lie saying, to be fair, I didn't disprove them until after, but just stopped and a lot of others did.
Blatant lie? That seems a little bit rude. I mean, you could at least assume the guy is mistaken. To call him a liar just because he doesn't share your opinion just seems a little harsh to me.
I called it a blatant lie because nothing was debunked or proven false. Every time you criticize for your racism, you double down, deny any wrongdoing, and try to discredit the people and or arguments made against you. And you're doing it right now to me, so yes, I call it a lie, and I stand by that.
Someone else replied, considering you openly admit to using racial slurs, I don't feel that bad for you given the racism. It shouldn't happen to anyone, but you're not a great person yourself. And Just a Robot, the man everyone swears has grown and changed, responded, it's not racist if you don't call anyone it, and everyone does it. Would you rather have me lie about doing it?
To be fair, I certainly could have worded that better. I can see how some people might have came to the conclusion that I was saying, everybody says racial slurs, so it's okay. No, of course it's not okay to say racial slurs. I don't think someone is racist just because they say a racial slur. I'm autistic, and everybody calls everything they don't like retarded. But I don't think that automatically makes someone ableist. Now, if they call me retarded, then yes, they are ableist. But only if they call me that, no other autistic person. I just want to make that clear.
Okay, and you're free to feel that way. Just like how you're allowed to not be offended that someone used autistic as an insult and not think it's ableist, I'm allowed to be offended at the usage of racial slurs and think it's racist, period. Like I keep saying, people outside of marginalized groups don't get to decide what is or isn't offensive to people a part of that group. Especially not slurs created to dehumanize them, like...
But yes, every single person has used the racial slur at least once in their life. Am I saying they say it all the time? No, but I'm pretty sure basically everybody has said a racial slur at least once in their life.
Why is this man willing to die on the hill that everyone uses racial slurs? Like, no, they don't. What is wrong with y'all in this community?
I'm also not saying you can't call me out on it just because every other person has done it. Everybody has lied at least once in their life. That doesn't mean we can't call out liars.
So people are allowed to call you out on using racial slurs, but in response to being called out on it, you say some variation of, it's not racist if you don't call people it, and everyone has said racial slur. Like, bro, the math isn't mathing. But you know what? Let's give this a jar. Let's say that everyone has used a racial slur at least once. I don't agree with that at all, but you know what? For the sake of argument, sure. When called out for the usage of a slur, decent people don't say the things you're saying, Jar. Like... Like, they just apologize to the offended group, vow to do better, and the offended people work from there. Like, you're saying you should have worded things better and trying to clarify your response when the only response necessary was an apology. Something like, yeah, I did use racial slurs in the past. It was a mistake and it will never happen again. I'm sorry. Like, that's it. Nothing else matters. All you need to say. None of what you're saying changed the fact that this response should have never been a thing. Like, that was my point. An apologetic person who has grown would have never said this, period.
Despite all the awful responses, despite all the non-apologies, despite him doubling down on everything in the Prismate Luke video, I still went against my better judgment and give this man the benefit of the doubt.
Don't act like you were giving me the benefit of the doubt. If you did give me the benefit of the doubt, a comment wouldn't have made you change your mind.
Oh no, the cartoon avatar crossed arms is angry. I better watch what I say. Anyway, as I stated earlier, it wasn't just the comment. It was the fact that you were supporting the narrative that you being called out for racism was unwarranted and quote-unquote debunked, on top of you saying what you said about racial slurs. Like, all of that showed me you learned nothing, and judging from this video, I was right. Prior to all that, I thought you were trying to educate yourself, and I thought you were in the process of growing. Now I see you're just woefully ignorant and a lost cause.
Those apologies from me were genuine, and I had Spoctor look over them to make sure they were good. And as far as YouTube apologies go, it went over way better than James Charles or Shane Dawson's apology, I'll tell you that much.
I mean, I'd argue that says more about the community itself and how it handles anti-blackness than the quality of the apology. Black folks have been calling out James Charles and Blackface Dawson for years. Like, for years we have been calling these people out, and no one cared. In fact, we would get harassed and attacked for it. The only reason their apologies received so much backlash is because they were on some, and that's something, like, almost everyone can universally agree is wrong. YouTube communities have shown time and time again that they don't care about anti-black racism until it's time to drag someone they dislike. Every other time y'all defend it, accept non-apologies that weren't created for you, or just don't care. Like, and the commentary community is no different.
I didn't double down on everything when I made my response to Prismate Luke. The guy's an idiot, he was easy to debunk. And he also took down his video, so I don't see what the problem is.
Not this man trying to get on me about being harsh when he actually called another content creator an idiot. Y'all really be picking and choosing what standards apply to whom. Anyway, Jar, you can't say your apologies to black folks were genuine and then the same breath say you debunked the things you're apologetic for and try to validate my pain about you. Like, it doesn't work like that.
Despite my black intuition telling me that this man's a racist who has learned literally nothing, I still want to give him the benefit of the doubt because I like seeing the best people, you know? But the ancestors have never steered me wrong, bro. Like, I purposely took the wrong turn and now I have egg in my face.
Wait, what? I mean, I read one of the definitions of racism and it's the belief that different races possess distinct characteristics, abilities, or qualities. So do you think being black gives you some sixth sense to tell if someone is racist or not? Do you think you can talk to your ghost ancestors? I'm just kidding, of course, I know you're joking.
Like I said in my last video, if you need to whip out the dictionary definition of the word racism to try to support an argument, You don't know what racism is, and you have no business speaking on race topics. You're just admitting to not understanding the complexities and nuances of racism and how it's evolved over time. If your sole understanding of any topic is a dictionary definition, common sense should indicate you need to educate yourself before opening your mouth. Also, does Jar just not think about the things he says? Do you think you being black means you can recognize anti-black racism? Like he really thought he did something. That's what gets me. Yes, depending on where you live and the environments you surround yourself in, you can become more conscious about ignorance, coded language, microaggressions, and just flat out racism against you. I also like how Jar is mocking communicating with your ancestors like that isn't a legitimate spiritual practice. Just like how Christians communicate with God, pray to Him, honor Him, etc., people do the same thing but with their ancestors. This just comes off as so ignorant and disrespectful, bro. Like, stop speaking on things you know nothing about.
I know a lot has happened recently, so let's go down memory lane.
No! Not going through the Toby drama stuff ever again. Every time I talk about it, people get upset with me in the comments saying I'm defending myself, even if I'm doing nothing but admitting where I'm wrong. I'm gonna skip this section. This video is gonna be long enough. All you guys need to know is I did apologize for it. It was really stupid of me, and I was very misinformed on the situation. Carmen Ryder went through this stuff a little bit in her own video, so just go check out her video.
That's so manipulative, bruh. You have 100 times the platform as I do. Your video would be people's first and last complete viewing of my own. If you cut the context as to what I'm referring to, people can't form their own opinions. And you deleted damn near everything related to that situation, including the apologies, so the people who missed out on that mess or just forgot about it aren't gonna know what I'm even talking about. Y'all's number one argument when Jar first got called out was, he was cut out of context, we don't have the full context. Y'all were in an uproar when you thought Prison Mate Luke was cutting context, but Jar's allowed to do that to me? Keep that same energy towards your fave. And not only did Jar cut context from my video, he promoted his friend's video defending him instead. Like, yes, I'm sure your friend who criticizes everyone who criticizes you is gonna have a fair, nuanced take on the situation. And if every single time you talk about the situation you end up upsetting people, maybe, just maybe, you're doing something wrong, like, everyone else isn't the problem.
If they bring up Black Spongebob, it's not Blackface, it's Black. It wasn't me, it was my editor, and I fired that editor. And I thought this would be really easy to get out of because the editor, known as Sponge, had a female Spongebob walk across the screen while Toby was being shown on screen, but he didn't want me to call it female Spongebob because he said it was Maka Sponge, his own character.
What will you learn? What will you learn?
And this is why you upset people every time you talk about this situation. You negate your apology every single time the Black Spongebob is brought up. Every time you say some variation of, it was my editor, I'm partially responsible, but it wasn't me, it was my editor. Or, it's from the race bending video, that's why we didn't take 2 seconds to get a normal SpongeBob picture. Like I said in my last video, you are fully responsible for the content put on your channel. Your editors represent you, and once you hit that upload button, that's your reputation on the line. Stop trying to pass blame. At the end of the day, you showed a Black SpongeBob when mocking a black person's comment, which, regardless of the intent, was offensive. If a black person considers that blackface, you can't tell them otherwise. And an apologetic person who is reflected will recognize this.
Then again, she hasn't really done anything for me. In fact, she has called me a super racist in the past.
The fact that so many people want to their swords for her is so weird. Like, make it common, what the... You are literally out here saying that Peaches didn't participate in a garbage video you and super racist Jar made, even though she edited the script.
You know, I may have said some racial slurs here and there, but I never called anyone or any group of people it. But here you are, Creepshow, saying that an Asian person has terrible skin for an Asian person. That's clearly directed at someone, and you're a lot more racist than I am. So if I'm a super racist, I guess that would make you a super racist 3.
Slight tangent, but like, bro, you know both of y'all can be racist at the same time, right? Like, Creepshow being trash doesn't negate that. Do I think she said what she said just to get brownie points? Absolutely. Do I think her observation was wrong? No.
Oh, okay, so you failed to make an argument, got it.
I have 3 videos filled with arguments. You're just ignorant and don't think they're valid.
Yeah, I left one comment that the very beginning was about me. I don't have any prejudice towards any group, and trust me, if I did, I would be honest about it.
Okay, 1, it wasn't just a comment, as I stated earlier. And 2, you're just showing that, once again, you have no business speaking on race issues.
And you don't get to just gloss over what my real point was. Let's rewind.
But here you are, Creepshow, saying that an Asian person has terrible skin for an Asian person. That's clearly directed at someone, and you're a lot more racist than I am. So if I'm a super racist, I guess that would make you a super racist 3.
In that section of the video, I called her out for saying that was incredibly uncalled for, and also very racially demeaning. Nobody would deny that. Does that mean I've never said anything racially insensitive in the past? No, of course not. But she was hyperbolically changing the narrative about something I said to make it sound a lot worse than it really was. Almost as bad as the statements she made in the past. You're out here trying to brush that under the rug, drawing a false equivalency.
Okay, but I'm not talking about racial insensitivity or how you don't think you never did anything racially insensitive. I'm talking about you being a racist, full stop. Something that you deny time and time again because it doesn't fit your narrow-minded definition. Please explain to me how I'm hyperbolically changing the narrative and drawing false equivalencies when you literally believe creepshow art is racist and you're not. I also like how Jar claims he's not saying he's never done anything racially insensitive, but every time someone calls him out on it, he has to prove them wrong, like...
Most she did to him personally is repeat what black people were saying. For me, it's because of this man's actions, his doubling down on said actions, and his refusal to listen to any black person that doesn't defend him.
But what about all the black people who were saying I wasn't racist? Do their voices not matter? I'm willing to listen, trust me, my roommate talks to me about race all the time. But just because I listen doesn't mean I'll always agree.
Agree? Agree with what? Like, the statement is vague, so I can only speculate, but based off of Jar's track record of telling black folks and other POC how to feel about racism, yikes. If he says things like this in public, like, I can only imagine the ignorance he spews behind closed doors. Like, oh my gosh.
Hi, Future Me here. I forgot to mention that there's nothing wrong with other black folks thinking Jar isn't racist and giving their opinion on the matter.
Oh, never mind, she corrected my point that I just made. Well, let's hope she doesn't contradict herself in the very next...
Like, I legit saw one of his black subscribers, assuming he's telling the truth, arguing, well, I'm black, and I don't see the issue with Jar using racial slurs, so he can't be racist.
Okay, so there's no issue, but you'll laugh at them. Gotcha.
Bro, please save me the full concern when you and your subs actively laugh at me, mock me, and call me out my name. Anyway, I was more so laughing at the mindset of, I don't care about slurs, so no one else should either, because it doesn't work that way. Nothing works that way. Future Me here, I forgot to mention that I do recognize how me laughing can be potentially hurtful, and I shouldn't have done that regardless of the intent. So to any black folks who hurt with that, I'm sorry.
And like, bro, don't do that. You can still like the man, but don't use your blackness to negate criticism from other black folks.
If someone can say, I'm black, I think Jar is racist, then another black person has just as much right to say, well, I'm black and I don't think he's racist.
Yes, they do. And I've said that on my videos. The only problem is that y'all will take that and use it to negate any criticism towards you. Something that I've also said on my videos and something that's happening right now.
You haven't been able to use the definition of racism. If I'm so blatantly racist, then why can no one use the definition against me? So when you think something is racist, you being black adds credibility to your claim. But when black people disagree with that claim, those black voices are funny to you. You try to fabricate a lot of points about me not representing black opinions, but I don't remember ever mocking them like you just did.
Oh no ma'am. Oh no ma'am. No ma'am.
Y'all, I'm gonna lose it. Like, I'm really about to lose it. The audacity, the sheer audacity of this man who made dangerous, offensive, anti-SJW content, who made a career out of mocking and insulting other people and continues to do so to this day, to try to chastise me about mocking black voices. Y'all, this man's trying me, so if I sound weird or monotone, it's because I'm actually pissed off and I'm trying to control my anger. Talking about, you fabricate a lot of points about me not representing black opinions. First of all, I didn't fabricate shit, let's make that clear. Second, I said you refuse to listen to any black person who doesn't agree with you, get it right. And third, this entire video proves my point. I, along with other people of color, have voiced why we think you're racist, or at the very least racially insensitive. I now have 3 videos talking about why I think you're racist. How dense and arrogant do you have to be to watch those videos, read those comments, and still come to the conclusion that your narrow-minded viewpoint of what racist is trumps all of that? What? And what gets me is that despite being a commentary veteran of 7 years, despite having over 100k subscribers on 2 separate channels, despite having a sea of videos of people defending you, you couldn't handle one black person being critical of you. You couldn't handle one black person saying, hey, this content and these actions are personally offensive to me. I wasn't even speaking for black folks in general, just myself, and you couldn't even handle that much. You don't care about black voices, bro. If you did, you wouldn't be making this video. For months, you've been watching yourselves invalidate, attack, and mock anyone who's been critical of you, myself included. But the instant I tell your black subs, hey, you guys don't even think he's racist, just don't do that, suddenly, oh no, we need to protect black voices, oh no, all black folks should be allowed to voice their opinions. Like, get out of here with that BS, bro. Also, here's a clip from my last video regarding Jar's argument.
Criticizing and belittling black folks and other minorities who talk about racism, telling us that we don't know what racism is, arguing with minorities about racial slurs, doing blackface. Like, I don't know about y'all, but to me, personally, that counts as antagonism. At the very least, these are microaggressions that need to be addressed. Now let's get into my response comment. Act just a robot. Bro, I keep trying to give you leeway, but you make it impossible. You built your channel off of dismissing minority, mostly black, voices and concerns, as well as blatant racism.
I don't discriminate against any groups. I used to be homophobic when I was very, very young because I grew up in a very homophobic family. But that's about it. I don't know what this person means by dismissing the concerns of minorities. They don't really go into details, so your guess is as good as mine.
I literally give examples like, what's not clicking? Also, you can understand that you were once homophobic, but being racist is out of the question. If you can recognize that you grew up in a bigoted household, and people are repeatedly bringing attention to your mishandling of racial topics, why wouldn't that lead to some introspection on your part? Do y'all understand that bigotry isn't mutually exclusive? Like, if you're taught to hate an entire group of people for existing, hate to break it to you, but you have to unpack and unlearn everything, because 10 times out of 10, your other beliefs are skewed as well. I also want to touch on Jar repeatedly reminding us that he used to be homophobic to, I guess, prove that he can admit to being bigoted. And it's like, okay girl, and that doesn't mean anything, you still need to keep growing. When I realized I was dealing with internalized homophobia and biphobia,
By the way, I'm bisexual.
I didn't just deal with that and stop there. I was like, wow, what else am I ignorant about? And educate myself on various social issues and continue to do so to this day. Mind you, I recognize the problem all on my own. Jar has people actively bringing this problem to his attention. There's no excuse. So again, why is there no introspection from someone y'all swear has grown and changed?
1. You used a black avatar to mock black people, aka blackface, and lied about it.
Wait, I lied about it? When?
I'm glad you asked. You said this on the Imprisonment Luke video.
You can't say it's another character because one of them, he literally says it's just him blackface.
You need to shut up! I literally did not say that. Stop lying about me, Luke.
And that black avatar you saw, that's not what I look like. My artist just took a guess as to what I looked like and drew that. I was holding on to it, and I didn't really know what to do with it until today. So again, this is not what I look like. Now I'm not saying I'm not black, but I'm also not saying I am black.
Bro, that's you admitting to blackface. I'll admit that it was poor research on Luke's part regarding the Professor Dreadlocks bit, but to act like you didn't do blackface and admit to blackface is just blatantly dishonest.
Lying by omission is still lying.
I didn't make fun of black people, I only made fun of black supremacy. It's not blackface because I didn't put black makeup on my face. Now if you want to make the argument that it's digital blackface, it's a good looking black guy without any exaggerated black features.
Yes, you made fun of black supremacy that was being perpetuated by black people by pretending to be a black person. That's the problem. And I'm so tired of this man pulling up definitions. Like, bro, stop. If your only understanding of something is through a dictionary, you don't know what you're talking about. Be quiet, you don't have the range. And it doesn't matter what the avatar looked like. Pretend to be black to mock a black person is blackface, period.
It's just something my artist made for me, thinking that's how I looked like in real life. Yeah, a surprising amount of people think I'm black, which I personally don't get. I also thought the avatar kind of looked like the guy who was saying that the Mississippi was the Nile River.
Listen up! Y'all don't understand. This land that you stand on, that you think is America, this is actually Africa. The dear Mississippi that you love, that you know of, that's the Nile River. This is our land.
If I imitate one black guy, it doesn't mean I'm imitating all of them.
It doesn't freaking matter, bro. It doesn't matter who you're imitating or why. You pretend to be black to mock a black person. That's blackface. End of. What gets me is that I gave this man an out. Like, in my last video, I said, hey guys, Jar has removed this video, so he probably doesn't stand by it anymore. And then he posted this shit. So it's just, bro, you're your own worst enemy.
Just a king! I decided to reveal my true colors. I, just a robot, am in fact black. Now I know what you're thinking, but you're a robot. How can you be black? Well, the answer is very simple. You see, you don't have to be black, because black people are magic. Ultimately, though, I think I actually might take this video down and re-upload it, but have my normal avatar with the sign blackface over it. I think that would be way funnier. I can understand now how this video can upset people, and if I can make people laugh without upsetting people, that's much better.
If you know the video is offensive and you know you're being perceived as a racist because of your race content, why would you re-upload the video? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, this actually pisses me off because do y'all know how difficult it was to sit through the blackface video? Like, I had to take multiple breaks just to finish it because it was so upsetting, and Jar just keep like the shit hilarious. Because yes, someone who has grown and changed will most definitely be laughing at the fact they hurt people, but whatever. Anyway, bro, just leave black folks alone. Like, you can't be trusted to talk about race, just leave us alone. If you want to talk about supremacy, why not just talk about white supremacy? You're a part of the anti LGBTQ community. I'm sure you're well versed on the topic.
You're gonna offend people no matter what you do in life. You could fucking breathe wrong and people will call you out. I think this is a very toxic mindset to have, which is, you know, being too scared to say anything or do anything because you might offend someone. Especially in today's era of pussies. You're gonna put yourself in a coma trying that.
And no, the avatar from your Just a Kang video is entirely separate from your Professor Dreadlocks one.
Did I claim they were the same thing? I don't think I did.
Like I said, lying by omission is still lying. And I've seen your stands use your same argument that you never did blackface, Luke didn't do his research, etc., all while ignoring the Just a Kang video. So yeah, I need to make a distinction between the two. I also love how I really thought leaving that clip in was a good idea. Like, yes, call the black folks you're supposedly sorry for offending. That's a great way to show you changed.
That being said, Prismate Luke did insult my best friend's avatar by saying it's just a black-faced version of just a robot.
He has multiple videos of just having blackface versions of himself.
That was extremely offensive to him, and that's ultimately why I wanted him to take his video down.
Okay, not gonna argue or deny that Professor Dreadlocks found that offensive. I can believe that. That said, and maybe I'm reaching for what I'm about to say, but if that was the problem, why wouldn't you request the section to be removed instead of the whole video? Professor Dreadlocks was offended at that specific portion, and y'all want it gone. It doesn't make sense to not request for it to be removed and have a pinned comment clarifying that wasn't Jar. Maybe I'm reaching, maybe I'm wrong, but that seems like the most logical solution to the problem. I could just be trying to find the logic in the illogical though. Also, this next section is gonna fly by like Speedy Gonzalez, so y'all have been warned.
They then play a clip from my Just a King video, which was way too long.
And just because you have dark skin, it doesn't make you black. If you're black and you disagree with anything I say in this video, then you are just a dark-skinned white devil. Now these undeniable black facts, I got them from Kraut and T.
Black man, go out, get a gun, and go kill a race soldier. Now, you may be saying that this is some pretty nasty fear-mongering, but you would be wrong. The race war is the only viable solution to our problems, because white people, you can't see them as anything but a collective, and you can't see them as anything but white, and most definitely not as individual.
Mr. Medicare?
Not Jacob, who's Jacob? So-called Latinos and Native Americans, and assimilate Indians.
That is some compelling evidence. You heard it. Native Americans, Latinos, and blacks are the real Jews.
I was helping Jar with the script of this video, and I saw this face in the video, and I just want to explain the context. This character is part of the latest DLC to the cult classic game Age of Empires. When the DLC came out, this was the first time that a person of African descent was on the cover art, and the first time that sub-Saharan African civilizations were actually in the series. Age of Empires is a game that focuses on military history, so you know exactly the type of crowd that would gravitate towards this type of game. Hashtag not all historians. Anyway, the game gets released and a bunch of alt-righties have a collective aneurysm and start making memes using this character. The underlying joke and narrative that they were presenting was that people of African descent didn't create civilizations, and thus the company, by including black civilizations, was exaggerating their accomplishments in history and therefore pandering to the libs, so to speak. Of course, this is ridiculous. There have been many sub-Saharan civilizations and many sub-Saharan peoples in non-sub-Saharan civilizations, such as in Iran, for example. But that's beside the point. The point is that this is kind of like one of those esoteric conservative memes, and it's in the same orbit of the We Was Kangs meme, so this was something that I just wanted to point out before anyone else did, because shit, when I saw this character's face, my eyes almost popped out of my skull. In fact, I think they might be on the floor right now. Jar, could you help me get my eyes?
Sure.
I mean, okay, thanks I guess, but it's like, what does any of this have to do with the fact that Jar used a black avatar to mock black people? Like, y'all, I'm gonna be real, I don't feel comfortable commenting on Dreadlock's section because I truly don't know what purpose it was supposed to serve. Like, him telling us that Jar included a racist meme whilst doing blackface supports my right to be offended by the video. But I don't know if that was his intent, so y'all let me know in the comments. Also, I love how y'all's number one argument when this man was first called out was, I was cut out of context, Jar was cut out of context, we need the full context, context. But when I provide the context, suddenly, oh no, the clip is too long. Like, y'all see how the goalpost is constantly moving? Like, I'm sick.
Of course, my lord and master, Tariq Masheed. All their videos will be down below, and I want every single one of you white devils to watch them. Now, some of you white devils with melanin deficiency might be wondering, if the black race is so superior in every single way, then how did they lose their history and technology? Well, the answer is simple. Cannibalism.
Cannibalism was going on in Europe, big time. There's a lot of evidence showing the cannibalism that was going on in Europe. As a matter of fact, this whole vampire phenomenon that we have is rooted in the cannibalism that was going on in Europe.
That's right. In order to gain our black power, you white vampires had to eat us. And that black avatar you saw, that's not what I look like. My artist just took a guess as to what I looked like and drew that. I was holding on to it, and I didn't really know what to do with it until today.
But honestly, it's pretty funny. Maybe I shouldn't have used a black avatar, but, man, I forgot how much I love black supremacy. I might actually start an autist supremacist group. I'm gonna call it the Autist Army.
You know, I don't care. I don't care. Just leave black folks alone and stop talking about race. Please, that's all I want.
Do something else! That's it! That's all we want!
People on the autism spectrum, y'all got it. Like, that's y'all's business. I gotta go.
2. You harassed black reaction channels for years and attacked one for criticizing idubbz usage of the N-word.
Yeah, I hate reaction channels. It's not my fault a lot of them are black, and I also talked about the white ones too. Susie Lou, Spaz Boy. And it's kind of funny how many people called me racist for the Spaz Boy one because a lot of people thought I was black back then. I never sent any racial hate towards them. When I noticed at least one of my fans was sending racial hate to T-Moss Boss, I told people to not do that.
But still, because I recognize one person, I'm just gonna say this. Please don't say anything racist towards T-Moss Boss. You have plenty of material to work with. You don't have to focus on his race.
That doesn't change the fact that a vast majority of the videos were about black people, which, with the context of you being you, doesn't sit right with me. I also like how Jar just lacks the self-awareness to understand that he's exposing himself. Like, I didn't mention a racist audience, bro. You did, and now we gotta talk about it. Okay, so he told his audience not to be racist. First of all...
Okay, I mean,
mean, dang, what, you want a Scooby snack?
Like, call me cynical, but I'm done applauding non-black people for doing the bare minimum. Because as y'all see, people like Jar try to use that as an indication of character, like that absolves him of every other racist thing he's ever done. Like, congrats bro, most people can agree calling a black person slurs is wrong. Second, why does he sound mildly annoyed that his audience is calling black folks a hard R? Like that's literally so horrifying, but he talks about like it's a minor inconvenience. Third, I know someone's gonna argue creators can't always control what their audience does, and that's true. But we're not talking about hate messages or rude comments, we're talking about blatant, unapologetic racism. Like, my lord. Fourth, why wasn't this a wake-up call? Like, why didn't this cause you to think, what am I doing to attract racists to my channel?
Emo's boss is an idiot and a bad person. He actually used Joshua's mother against him. Are you seriously defending this guy?
Oh, back name calling, are we? Seems a little disrespectful. Harsh, even. Anyway, so going forward, y'all gonna start seeing a pattern. I'll say something along the lines of, Jar, you're wrong in this situation. And he'll take that and say, wow, I can't believe you would defend such an awful person who did X, Y, and Z. And it's like, both of y'all can be wrong at the same time. Like, me criticizing you doesn't mean I'm pro Timos boss. Me saying you're wrong in a specific situation doesn't mean the other party is faultless in that situation. In my comment section, a lot of Jar stands were accusing me of supporting Imprisonment Luke and Creepshow art because I criticized his handling of those situations. And at first I was confused as to how they could watch my videos and come to that conclusion. Now I see where y'all getting it from. Look at who y'all's fave is. Y'all don't grasp the concept of nuance, and that's very concerning considering this community is about giving personal opinions on nuanced situations. I never argued in favor of Timos Boss's character, nor implied that he didn't do things worthy of criticism. The issue was, for me, unless we're talking about like actual crimes or ongoing legal cases, 5+ videos dedicated to one person is unnecessary and borderline obsessive. And with the context of Jar being racist, it just didn't sit right with me. It still doesn't. Something I also want to point out, at the beginning of the video, Jar said, oh my gosh, you made another video about me. And it's like, babes, you made like 6 to 7 videos of Timos Boss. And you can argue, well, that's different. He's not a good person and needs to be called out on the things he did wrong. And it's like, I can say the same thing about you. So even if I'm wrong, alright, and the 6 to 7 videos on the guy was completely necessary, by that logic, why is there an issue when Jar gets 3 videos about him?
You really think I just went after reaction channels because they were black? Really?
Yes, with the context of everything you've done, as well as you being, well, you, I think there are some subconscious biases or microaggressions going on there. Again, I can only work with the material given. Me coming to that conclusion is the consequence of your own actions, bro.
Also, notice how they word things. When they do a video on idubbz, it's criticism. When I do a video defending idubbz, I'm attacking them. idubbz didn't say the N-word with any racist intent towards anyone. He did it to make fun of a white girl.
None of that matters, bro. Black folks have every right to be offended about the usage of the N-word, regardless of the intent. Especially when it's coming from non-black people. That is and always will be valid. You being offended at them for being offended because as a white man you don't think it's bad isn't. So yes, I said you attacked them, I stand by that, and I'll say it again. Just so I attacked 2 black content creators for being upset that idubbz used the N-word. I also want to say this wasn't a one-time occurrence from idubbz. Literally my first and last idubbz video, he called an Asian person a yellow nick. Who knows how many other times he said it. So yeah, Jar, keep defending other racists. You're making my job a lot easier.
Did I say the N-word in that video about Hood Reacts? Yes, and I already apologized for it. Did I also say the word raccoon but without the rack part? Yes. But every time I heard that term used, it was used as a soft-core version of Uncle Tom, especially in the context that Hood Reacts is using it. I mean, I said the word, and it's bad, but he calls people the word, and it's okay.
Now, the reason why I wanted to make this song is not for clout or any of that. There's nothing to gain from this man, because his fans is nothing but racist white people.
So 100% of his fan base is either black or white, so there's no Asians or Latinos who watch him. Interesting, I did not know that.
Bro, this man's inability to just apologize without making excuses is ridiculous. All you had to say was, sorry I said the C slur. That was wrong. Like, that's it. That's all. Why is there always a but? Every time you say but, you're negating your apology. You did it with the N-word and you're doing it now. And I'm not talking about black man's usage of or the morality behind it. My criticisms are about you, Jar. Stay on topic.
He just painted all of idubbz fans as either racist or, raccoons, but without the rack part. The dude also said a few homophobic things, and, yeah, Hood Reacts ain't a good person.
Again, never arguing in favor of anyone's character. Their wrongdoings have nothing to do with your own, bro. Like, stop trying to deflect. Also, controversial opinions, sorry not sorry, but if you're a fan of someone who refers to an Asian person as a yellow nigger, and you have the audacity to be upset that people generalize the fan base as racist, I have nothing nice to say, let me stop.
I understand the word raccoon, but without the rack part, does have some racist origins to it, but I think the word has changed into another version of Uncle Tom in recent years. Language evolves after all, but I don't want to offend anyone, and the word isn't important to me. It's something I don't really use that often in a sentence, so I won't say it anymore.
So you can understand that words and language can evolve, but if something doesn't fit your exact Oxford definition of racism, then it's wrong. And again, the self-expose. Bro, how many times did you say it and why? I thought this was a one-time occurrence, but you just admitted it wasn't. Like, yay, he won't say anymore, but it's like, now I'm wondering what you be saying behind closed doors. Like, what?
I'm not gonna lie, guys, at first watching this video I actually got nervous and had a bit of trouble defending myself. But here on out it's going to get a lot easier.
AKA Jar continues to stand by the ignorant things he said and shows that he's the same person he's always been, but we've been new.
Also, I'm so sorry that every single black guy doesn't share a hive mind, and they have thoughts and opinions that differ from your own. By the way, reaction channels promote white supremacy. If you're a black guy and you make reaction videos, then you're an Uncle Tom, and you're also a meanie stinky doo-doo face.
Oh no, guys, I gave an example off of what someone else said. How can I show my face in public? I mean, the dude basically said, if you like idubbz, you're not a real black man, and I'm showing that you can do the same with basically everything.
So you conflate a black guy calling other black folks for supporting a racist to reaction channels upholding white supremacy just cuz? What? I'm not here to argue the morality of black folks calling one another, like that's another video in and of itself. But that comparison just makes no sense, and he still thinks he did something. Also, does anyone else see the irony of Jar arguing that black people aren't a hive mind and should have their own individual thoughts and opinions? But when one criticizes you...
But look at this, man. I'm a real authentic YouTuber. I can't hold anything back. I do not this dude. I do run around on the internet saying the shit cool.
Wait, why did you censor out him saying the N-word? I thought it was alright for black people to say the N-word. I'm so confused. Remember when Obama said the N-word? That was based.
Racism. We are not cured of. Clearly. And it's not just a matter of it not being polite to say in public. That's not the measure of whether racism still exists or not.
Okay, so I can't speak for your friend group, but the average black person doesn't go around calling one another the hard R.
I don't know how where you from, but let me tell you something. Where I'm from, we don't do like that.
It can actually be very triggering to people, myself included. And if you educate yourself on the N-word like you claimed you did in your Prism at Luke video, then you would notice. Also, what was the point of that Obama clip? Like, how's that based? Y'all are weird.
Also, it's kind of funny that Hood React says that white people can't say the N-word, but here he is, a presumably straight man saying the F-slur.
Oh, what's the context? Did he say it in a song? Did he call someone it? Or did he just say it? Why is it bad when only white people say it? If he was Asian, would it be okay? If he was black, I know it certainly would be okay. The only time I remember him saying it was when he said... But even then, that was to make fun of a white girl.
Yes, this was the infamous time that I said the N-word after I quoted idubbz, and I apologize for it, so what's the issue here? And before that, all I was doing was asking a question. Is that a crime now?
Okay, if he is straight, which neither me nor Jar know of, by the way, then it was wrong. But wait, Jar has repeatedly said slurs are only wrong if you call people it. So, by his own logic, why does it bother him that straight guys using the F-slur? He's quoting idubbz just like you, so by your own logic, it shouldn't be a problem, right? Mind you, I don't think this is all Jar. Do the rules you make up just not apply to other people? Like, pick a side, is it wrong or not? Also, fun fact, a person who has grown and changed will watch that clip and been like, wow, I was really ignorant back then. Sorry guys, educate myself since then. But, alas.
It's not cool, bro. You're not gonna catch us running around on the internet talking about, you know...
Cracker Jack? You mean those bags of popcorn covered in caramel? I've never heard that used as an insult. I've heard cracker, but not Cracker Jack. By the way, why do so many racist black people act like white people are offended by the word cracker? I've never seen a white person ever be offended by the word cracker.
Now, I want to make this clear. I wasn't calling Hood Reacts directly a racist. I'm just saying I meet a lot of black racist people who do think white people are offended by the word cracker, but I've never met a white guy offended by the word cracker in my life. But yes, even today, I stand by that point, and again, I was basically just asking a question.
So because you never met a white person who's offended by the word, it's a thing only racist black people made up? What? For those of you who don't know, the word what some white people consider a derogatory insult. I've met some people who even view as a slur. This might seem like a tangent, but bear with me. So its origins are actually pretty fascinating, as in the 16th century, it was originally used to describe a loud, annoying person. Then they evolved to describe Scotch-Irish immigrants who migrated to the United States. Then they evolved to describe poor white people who lived in the South, and now we're here. It's commonly believed that it was once used to describe when slave owners would crack a whip to punish slaves, and I thought that for the longest time myself. But to my surprise, that's never been proven, so all we know for sure is that it was used by white people to insult other white people. So with that context, I can understand why it's seen as offensive. Anyway, the reason I share all this is because 1, I like history, and 2, to show that everything I just said took like 5 seconds to Google. Like, Jar keeps saying, I was just asking a question, what's wrong with asking a question? And it's like, bro, you have access to the same sources, Google is free. If you don't know about the topic that's being discussed, either research it or be quiet. You owe it to your audience to know what you're talking about, that's your responsibility as a content creator. This is still an ongoing problem with him to this day, and at this point it's just laziness and arrogance. I also like how Jar just ignores the fact that he completely missed the point Hood Reacts was making. He was basically saying, Y'all wouldn't want us to use this word that offends white people, so why is it okay for idubbz to do that to us? But no, you personally never meeting a white person who was offended by the word is more important. Okay.
Yeah, talk about a whole bunch of race. Talk about we're glad all the Jews got burned and all that.
I'm gonna take that part out of context and put it in the beginning of the video.
Am I just commentating on my f***ing video at this point? They're not making an argument, they're just showing clips.
Again, y'all's number one argument was that you were taken out of context. So to avoid this, I provide as much context as possible with as little editing as possible, because I saw how you and your stands manipulate the Prismate Loot situation. I also want to add that, notice how the reaction of y'all's king of change and growth isn't, wow, that was ignorant, yikes, I don't know why I said that. Basically just cringing at his old self like most people would. No, it's, they're not making any arguments, like, because that wasn't the video for that. Commentating on every single ignorant and racist thing you've done would take forever. Look at the link to my video now. My goal of my first video was to say, no, you're not a victim. This is a portion of the offensive things you've done. Here are the receipts. And I will hope people will have the common sense to understand why those clips are offensive, but if this community taught me anything, it's that common sense isn't that common.
But in all seriousness, that's not a word, that's a statement. Saying the N-word is not the same as saying I wish all black people would die.
Oh my god, guys, I just got exposed. I just said saying the N-word is not the same thing as saying you're happy all the Jews got burned. I mean, oh my god, how can I show my face in public?
Ain't no point in telling you nothing, you ignorant.
It's the same sentiment, Jar, that's the point. The N-word, the hard R especially, has a long, painful, and violent history. That's probably the last word a lot of our ancestors heard. That might still be the last word black victims hear because lynchings and hate crimes are still a thing in this country. For a lot of black folks, hearing that word can bring all that back. I know, because it happened to me at work. Like, this is the reason I will never apologize for calling this man out, because this is genuinely disgusting.
You know, because he's just pretty much just saying it's words. Okay, go walk up to someone and say, I'm glad 9/11 happened. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, once again, that's a statement. And second, I actually went outside and said that to a few people. You guys don't have to take my word for it, but you can try it yourself. Worst case scenario is you're gonna get in an argument.
Okay, that was a pretty bad take. In all seriousness, guys, don't go up to people and say, I'm glad 9/11 happened. I will admit I was there. I don't even make 9/11 jokes anymore, mainly because I only know 2 and they both always fall flat.
Damn, fam. You got the whole chat laughing.
If y'all got such a problem with words, who's taking a kneel during the national anthem?
Oh, that? Well, I don't care about that. Trump does, but I don't. If I was in Trump's shoes, I would say things like, yeah, check me out, I'm king. These people are kneeling to me.
Oh my god, you guys, I don't have a problem with black people, gulp, exercising their First Amendment rights. I'm just saying if I was in Trump's shoes and I was Trump, that's what I would do. Am I saying he should do it? Not really. I'm just saying that's what I would do if I was Trump.
I mean, I'm seeing some parallels, so you're on the right track. Anyway, guys, wouldn't it be so funny that when black athletes are like peacefully protesting against police brutality, because, you know, they just keep killing and terrorizing us, wouldn't it be so funny to joke about how they're really kneeling down to honor a racist white man? Like, wouldn't it be hilarious to take such a serious and traumatizing issue and just turning into kneeling down to massa? Isn't that just like next level comedy? Like, am I right? Am I right? Ugh. Also, nice to know you just lied to your audience, bro. Like, way to be responsible for your platform.
And who reacts is seriously comparing saying the N-word to someone kneeling at a football game. Yes, I'm about as patriotic as the next guy, but that flag represents freedom. And that guy had the freedom to exercise his First Amendment right.
He's saying if the N-word is just a word, and words aren't that big a deal according to idubbz and his fans, then why is there still issue with Colin Kaepernick and other black folks silently kneeling during the national anthem? Now, I agree with the general message, but if I'm being honest, the argument does seem random without context. And with the original video gone, I can't exactly get it. So considering Jar likes to cut context and misrepresent people's arguments, I can't exactly form a proper opinion on this one.
Okay, I'm just gonna skip my video and get on to their next point.
3. You apologize for using a hard R, yet admit that you will continue to use the N-word if your black friends were okay with it.
And I understand that word does have history, so I don't call black people that word. Unless, of course, they're cool with me using the GA with them.
What I do in private with my friends is none of your business. I'm just saying some black guys like it when white guys call them the GA N-word. If they're not cool with me using it, then I won't.
Oh no, the cartoon avatar with crossed arms, eyes turn red. Watch out, y'all. Pettiness aside, bro, you made it everyone's business when you decided to put it on the internet. Don't get mad at me because I'm commenting on something you willingly shared. All you had to say was, sorry for using the N-word, and we'd be none the wiser, but you decided to expose yourself further. Also, do you understand that this completely negates your apology? Like, how are you sorry for using the N-word if you continue to use the N-word? And how am I the bad guy for bringing this up? Like... Like, this is the man y'all say has changed? Is this y'all's king?
4. You dismiss the existence of cultural appropriation, the lack of minority representation in video games, and criticism of the Confederate flag.
Again, there's no argument here, they're just saying stuff. Oh boy, they're gonna play a lot of my videos again. Let's hope at least one of the points they just made comes true.
Sometimes they're shrouded in language like pimps and hoes party.
Pimps and hoes? Really? First of all, if being a pimp or a hoe is part of your culture, it's really nothing to be proud of. Second, pimps and hoes are not really a part of a certain culture. It's more of a profession thing. And before someone says that most pimps are black, well guess what? Most astronauts are white. So by that logic, no one but white people can throw a space-themed party. You see how that sounds?
Okay, nothing wrong here so far. So if I throw a pimps and hoes party, am I taking the culture away from black people or something? I'm joking, of course. I never throw or go to parties. I'm a loser.
The problem with that jar is that the modern day depiction of pimps are solely based off of black people. All the mainstream stereotypes regarding pimps were started with the blaxploitation films of the 1970s and Iceberg Slim. And one of the reasons the blaxploitation genre died out is because black folks thought it was perpetuating harmful stereotypes and having a negative influence. So these complaints/discussions have literally been around for 50 years. She was never arguing about the cultural pride or ethics of pimping. She was arguing that dressing as a cultural or racial stereotype is offensive. Dressing up as a pimp for Halloween is in the same league as dressing up as thugs, gangs, rappers, or whatever. Like, bro, we know where y'all got that from and who y'all trying to mimic. Y'all ain't slick. There's no such thing as space culture or astronaut culture, and being an astronaut isn't associated with characteristics of a specific race. This comparison is lazy and ridiculous, and the fact that you still see nothing wrong with it says it all.
Every single person should be able to throw whatever themed party they want.
I still agree with this. What's your point? I mean, I guess you shouldn't throw a themed party, but I'm pretty sure most people knew what I meant.
My point is that this proves what I originally said. You're dismissing cultural appropriation, and now you're standing by it. Good job.
I was just in New York City. It was a city full of different people with different cultures and different backgrounds. They interacted and celebrated different cultures. The people who say, stop appropriating my culture, are the real racists.
I mean, if I put on a sombrero and someone says I can't wear it because I'm not the right race, then yes, they are racist.
There's a difference between cultural appropriation, cultural appreciation, and cultural diversity, my guy. And living in a diverse area doesn't mean it's okay to dress up as racial or ethnic stereotypes for funsies. Culture is being shared as a privilege, not an obligation, especially when we live in a world where cultural aspects are more profitable and acceptable on people outside of them. Example, literally anything black folks do. I can't comment on the sombrero example specifically, so I won't, but I will comment on Jar's overall mindset behind the example because it's giving me white entitlement. Like, racial minorities have every right to gatekeep aspects of their culture, because historically, sharing has ended badly. Racial minorities protecting their culture isn't inherently racist. It's a defense mechanism developed over centuries of white folks stealing our stuff, profiting off of it, then erasing our influence.
Now, are there examples of cultural appropriation that did happen and are people who pointed out automatically racist? No. Is it appropriate, for example, a party themed around where everybody is dressed up as Wendigos? No, obviously not. Is it appropriate to hold a party celebrating Los Dia de los Muertos? If done respectfully with a genuine respect of the culture, then yes.
But guess what? We all realize that what you actually mean is come dressed as the most offensive stereotypes of black people, Asians, Latinos, Native Americans, Indians, etc. that you can muster.
Or maybe they just want to celebrate a different culture. Have you ever thought of that?
Do you guys know who this woman is? This is the same woman who tried to sue Sargon of Akkad and failed. She tried to sue Sargon because he played a lot of clips from her videos in one of his videos. And that's what this person is doing with my videos right now. I'm not saying I will or should sue this person, I'm just saying if we're going off of the logic of the woman's video I'm covering, then yes, I should sue them.
What does that have to do with my criticisms of you and your actions? Like, why is it so difficult for you to not deflect by bringing up unrelated situations about other people? And if you're gonna make the sorry joke, maybe don't include the screenshot where Akila apparently lost, like...
Now, obviously, you shouldn't go to a black-themed party and do blackface and act like the most stereotypical black person, but there's nothing wrong with trying to celebrate the culture of another, well, culture.
You hijack part of a culture for personal use without permission, not out of respect or tribute, but because, oh my god, Native American headdresses are so cute!
So people have to get permission? From who? Let's say a bunch of white people want to throw a Mexican-themed party. Do they get the permission from one Mexican, the Mexican government, or do they have to make a petition that only Mexicans can sign?
Oh no, guys, I asked a question. That means I'm denying the existence of cultural appropriation.
Okay, 1, Google is free. If you have all these questions, why are you making a video on a topic you clearly know nothing about? 2, bro, Akila is explaining what cultural appropriation is and how it's offensive, and you're actively arguing against it. So yes, you're dismissing the existence of cultural appropriation. Lastly, I say dismiss the existence of cultural appropriation, not denied it. Those are two different words with two different meanings. If you're gonna mock my claims, at least get the wording right.
You know cultural exchange happens all the time, right? Do people sometimes make mistakes about culture? Yeah, a lot of people think samurai are from China, but they're not.
Just so you know, every single person has my permission to throw a robot-themed party. Gentrification is not a plot by white people to destroy black people. Gentrification doesn't just affect poor black people. It affects poor people in general. It just so happens that a lot of terrible neighborhoods tend to be poor black neighborhoods. And if the government kept them around, it would be damaging to the economy.
And that is true. A lot of poor white people either live in the countryside or in trailer parks, while a lot of poor black people tend to live in the inner city.
Y'all, the further this video goes on, the more and more I relate to Adam Driver meme.
Every day I wake America!
Every day I wake up. There's just so many layers and so little time. First things first, Jar, it doesn't just so happen that a lot of terrible neighborhoods are poor black neighborhoods. There's a systemic and purposeful reason why that is. There's a reason why a lot of the black community is stuck in a cycle of generational poverty and generational trauma. There's over 150 years worth of reasons, and all of them stem from slavery and supremacy. As someone who's invested in black southern history, this statement and others like it just drive me up the wall. People really be acting like Jim Crow, segregation, housing discrimination ended because the president signed a piece of paper. Yes, gentrification affects poor people, period, but a disproportionate amount of impoverished people are black and brown. That's not a coincidence, nor is it a coincidence that these groups are the most targeted and affected by gentrification. Like I said earlier, this is systemic and purposeful. Just educate yourself and stop talking about race, please.
Really getting sick and tired of people who think just because they're a certain race means they automatically know more about a certain culture. Now, this is purely anecdotal, but as some of you might know, I was made in America. I was talking about the American-Mexican War, and this girl comes in, and she claims she knows more about it than me because, get this, she's part Mexican. Well, guess what? I was made in America. You know, the country that actually won the war.
Yes, the girl said that the amount of land the Americans took was actually a gift from Mexico. I am not making this up.
I'm not going to comment on the Mexican-American War section because that's not really related to culture or culture appropriation. That's more so just history, so I don't know why he even brought it up. Anyway, the thing I take issue with is Jar saying he's getting tired of people thinking that just because they're of a certain race, they think they know more about a certain culture. When one, I'd argue that's literally Jar because he built his channel off of being in other races' business, to the point people thought he was black. And two, is he saying that people of color shouldn't feel like they know more about their own cultures? I keep trying to think of other interpretations of what's being said, but this is what I keep coming back to. This mindset is asinine. I'm sorry, I don't know how else to describe it. You're telling me the people who live, breathe, and celebrate their culture, the people who actively experience their own culture, shouldn't feel like they know more about it than someone who doesn't? Y'all let me know if I'm reading that wrong, because if this is the mindset this man has, then, oh, honey.
And that's all the clips of my video she shows. Never once do I say cultural appropriation doesn't exist, it's just me criticizing this person's video, but whatever.
Not once did I say you said cultural appropriation didn't exist. I said you dismissed its existence. There's a difference. I literally said it and wrote it, so there's no reason for a veteran commentary channel to make this mistake, but whatever.
Okay, let's move on to the Confederate flag one. I ultimately did take this video down because I kind of found it cringy, and it was one of my first videos.
Now you wait, it don't mean none of that.
Really? In 1863, an earlier version of the flag had a white background, which the designer said represented, and I quote, the supremacy of the white man.
Good job. You actually got something right for once.
What? You said I dismissed the criticisms of the Confederate flag, but I accepted this one. What the hell is wrong with you?
What's wrong with you?
Discontinue that flag because people kept on mistaking it for a surrender flag.
Jar, I say you dismissed criticism of the Confederate flag. What the little boy said wasn't criticism, it was a quoted statement. That's the reason it's the only thing you agree with in that whole video. The clip just started, dude, calm down.
It's about our historical legacy.
Yeah. No.
Yes it is.
Wait, what's the problem? It is a thing that happened in America's past. We can't just pretend like it didn't exist. What did you think my point was?
So y'all might remember I covered this topic in my last video, so apologies if I repeat myself more than I already have. No one is saying we should pretend the American Civil War and the Confederacy never happened. The problem with the whole "it's about our historical legacy" argument is that y'all's legacy is wanting slaves. Y'all are celebrating the legacy of wanting black people to remain property. So no, it's not just about the historical legacy. It's about what the flag stands for, and trust me, people know exactly what it stands for. That's why they love it.
The racist man who murdered 9 black people in a church stood with this flag in a photo celebrating the racism it stood for.
I'm really getting sick of people saying things like that. Just because a Boy Scout shot up a school, it doesn't mean they're all like that. What that man did was very wrong. However, you can't judge a whole group of people just because of one man's actions. Just because black people tend to be in prison more often than white people, it does not mean we should treat them any differently.
Yeah, this was a stupid point on my end. Did I really compare people who like the Confederate flag to an entire race of people who don't have a choice to be what race they are? No, you can say that those who fly the Confederate flag over their house are racist, that's one thing, but you shouldn't call them all Dylan Roof was an extremely individual, and I believe he's still on death row. One thing I did learn recently is this is actually not the Confederate flag. I'll link a full video about the real Confederate flag down below if you want to know more information.
Confederate government selected this as her official flag and named it the Stars and Bars, so calling this the Stars and Bars is wrong on 2 counts. That's not its name, and this is a cross. These are bars. Army wanted to avoid friendly fire, and so took one of their rejected designs and squarified it into a battle flag. The Navy too liked this design and eventually switched, though using a brighter, presumably non-Yankee, blue. 2 years later, the Confederate government again changed the flag, adding a red bar and a new tough name. Also, the design slightly rectangularified the battle flag. This could no longer be mistaken for surrender, and was the last flag, as 36 days later, the Confederacy surrendered.
Now I will say I'm glad he recognizes that this was an awful argument, so yay for that. If you could do that for all his other content, we wouldn't be here, but I digress. My only problem with this section is that they're not saying that everyone who flies the Confederate flag is a mass murderer. They're providing an example as to what we mean when we say the flag is so much more than just historical legacy. I'm not sure if he was arguing that specifically or was just providing an example, so sorry if I read that wrong. Also, as someone who's lived in the South her entire life, the quote-unquote fake Confederate flag is indeed the flag everyone uses down here. I don't think I've ever seen the other one. Real or fake, the message is still very clear.
All 3 of the examples listed include complex subject matter that need their own individual videos basically debunking them, so I'll probably work on that sometime in the future.
Oh goody. They don't really go over the video game stuff at all. I know which video they're talking about, but the person me and my Puerto Rican friend covered, one of his examples for white people in video games was Shepard from Mass Effect, who you can customize to look however you want. Should there be more black characters in video games? Yes! Super Smash Bros. Doesn't have a single black character unless you customize a Mii. Sorry that the guy we covered had examples that sucked.
Okay, but all the examples didn't suck, and you argued against some valid complaints. I was originally going to go over the majority of the video game video, but this video is 2 hours? So if y'all are curious to know my thoughts about this, just leave a comment and I'll reply with a thesis paper.
I couldn't include the video game one because the whole video is just Jar being loud and wrong, and well, that's true for all his content.
Okay, apparently you can't customize Shepard to look like any race you want.
I mean, y'all heard it yourselves, he didn't deny it.
5. You played the Oppression Olympics with interracial and gay couples in the Steven Universe PSA video.
Oppression Olympics really only works when you're talking about your own group to another group. I'm not gay or part of any of the LGBT.
What? No, anytime someone compares the struggles of marginalized groups to prove, quote-unquote, one has it worse than the other, that's playing the Oppression Olympics, which is what you did. While it usually occurs between marginalized groups, it isn't exclusive to them, so I don't know where he got that from. In fact, it's not uncommon for people outside these groups to weaponize the Oppression Olympics. They'll purposely bring up other marginalized groups, either as bait or to discredit argument.
Deny that you did, and purposely left out the section where you admitted to telling your black trainer that gay people have it worse.
There's a ton of anti-LGBT stuff in the black community that we almost never talk about. I've even met a few black guys who believe that the LGBT community is white. I guess I'm just a little bothered about this because I recently discovered my personal trainer is a black Israelite, and we got into an argument about who had more rights, gay people or black people.
Yeah, and he was the one who started that argument. The dude is an absolute nutcase. He believes in like every conspiracy. He unironically said Hitler was a good guy who was on the side of the black man because he was killing the white Jews for stealing the black religion. I brought up Obama, the first black president, and asked him to name the first gay president. He said Obama. Why? Because according to him, Michelle Obama used to be a man, and their kids were adopted from Kenya. I'm not making up, this is really what he believed.
He told me that any gay slur would be considered a hate crime. You can say whatever you want to a black person, even the N-word, and nothing bad will happen to you. Which I completely disagree with. I mean, way more people have been cancelled for using the N-word than the British term for a cigarette.
Yes, and that is true. What's wrong with what I'm saying so far?
I'm glad you asked. First, let's talk about the personal trainer bit. It doesn't matter who started the argument because at the end of the day, you took that, used it to support your claim that there's unaddressed homophobia in the black community in a video about how you think gay couples have it worse than interracial couples. Like, you did that, sir, and that's the problem. Second, let's talk about you saying there's a ton of anti-LGBT stuff in the black community that we almost never talk about. Bruh, who's not talking about it? Like as someone who's included in both communities, trust we talk about it all the time, and we fight about it all the time. We're disproportionately affected by homophobia. Like, it's been this way forever, and we've been talking about this problem forever. Just because y'all ain't listening doesn't mean it's not being talked about. Like, what on earth? And the thing is, Jar's a cis straight white dude, so under normal circumstances, I wouldn't fault him or anyone else for not knowing this. But when you're a veteran commentary channel and you're not a part of any of the groups you're discussing, you need to come correct each and every time. And if you don't want to do that, then don't talk about these things. And lastly, this is kind of a tangent, but y'all remember how Jar said he used to be homophobic, but he doesn't think he's racist? If that's possible, why do you have the problem with the reverse? Like, who's to say the kid is growing up in a racist household but not a homophobic one? And what if the kid has gay parents? You know how many racist gay folks there are? There's just no logical reason for Jar's video to exist. All Steven Universe said was, hey kids, don't be racist. Like, why are we here right now?
We had a black president, or at least a half-black president. As far as I know, we haven't had a gay president, at least an openly gay president.
And that's why I put this joke in. This is actually what my personal trainer thinks.
But why put that in the video when it wasn't part of the subject matter? Like, if you claim to care about the black community and the black LGBTQ community, why would you showcase an issue like that to your audience with no context, no less? For those of you who don't know, for over a decade, there's been a campaign dedicated to proving, quote-unquote, that First Lady Michelle Obama is secretly a man. Black women, more specifically darker-skinned black women, are constantly stripping their femininity. You're tall? Oop, you're a man. You're muscular? Oop, you're a man. You have any stereotypical male traits or interests? You're a man, she's a man, your mama probably a man too. Taking the masculinization of black women aside, I don't have to explain how this Michelle Obama campaign is also rooting transphobia, right? Like telling someone who identifies as a black woman that she's really a man and will always be a man, trying to prove she was assigned male at birth, calling any man who was attracted to her gay, and acting like being a trans woman is something to demonize and be ashamed of. Like, I don't have to explain that, do I? Please say I don't. And I already know people are going to argue, it's just a joke, but y'all need to understand that jokes made against vulnerable groups, especially a group as vulnerable as black trans folks, they can be so dangerous, and we see the results of it all the time. I've seen it in person. I don't care if Jar was just repeating what some bigot said. In the original video, he didn't specify that the Michelle Obama thing was from his black trainer. So people are just gonna watch that video and think it's just a thing to joke about. If you care about black LGBTQ folks like you claim, you have to be careful about what you share on your platform and how. I forgot to mention, the reason I feel so strongly about this is because of things like this. Like, this is an actual comment from my comment section. So yeah, bro, just please be careful. These people are really out here. And because I already know how some of y'all's comprehension skills are, no, I'm not saying just Robot's transphobic, no, we're gonna decide that. I'm saying he should be careful about unintentionally spreading or contributing to harmful rhetoric for the reasons I previously mentioned.
Pete Buttigieg didn't even come close to winning. As someone who's neither gay or black, I was gonna say I think gay people have it worse in America. At least from what I've seen. Okay, so you said earlier in the video that I admitted to my personal trainer that gay people had it worse than black people. I never said that. I said that now in this video. I didn't say that to my personal trainer. He brought up the conversation, saying things like, you can get cancelled or lose your job for any gay slur, but no matter what you say about a black person, nothing bad will happen to you. Which I completely disagree with.
Jar, you said, and I quote, "We got an argument about who had more rights, gay people or black people." You said that. In order for an argument to occur, at least two people have to have opposing perspectives. In order for the Oppression Olympics to be played, there has to be more than one player. Meaning the bigoted trainer was arguing that black people have it worse, and you were arguing that gay people have it worse. That's how it works, based on the information you provided. It doesn't matter who started the Olympics and how. The problem is that it was played and you still see nothing wrong with it. In order for you to get an argument about gay people having it worse than black people, then on some level you have to say or argue that gay people have it worse. I'm not talking about the bigoted stuff the trainer said because y'all already know how I feel about people like that. I'm talking about this specific quote from Jar. And then you're admitting that you did and still do think gay people have it worse. All because Steven Universe said, "Hey children, do not be racist." Do y'all understand how ridiculous this whole thing is? Like, I'm literally about... All they said was, "Don't be racist." That's all they said. Why ain't we here? And y'all, please, for the love of all that's sacred on this dying rock of a planet, please do not go in my comment section and argue which group has it worse. Please, that's not the point of any of this. Just please do not do that one thing. If you do nothing else, just don't do that one thing, please.
Now, I'm not saying my opinion is fact here. I'm just saying, to me personally, this is what I think. Keep in mind, I grew up in a very homophobic environment. Obviously, you can pretend not to be gay, but you can't really pretend not to be black unless you're online, I guess. So yes, black people do have to deal with being black all the time. You brought up black representation earlier, but there's way more black representation than gay representation.
I didn't talk about black representation in this video, bro. Like, huh?
If I made a kid's cartoon with a black guy in it, no one would give a shit. If there was a gay character, that could cause some controversy. Yes, the new Star Wars trilogy did do Finn dirty, making him less and less visible on the posters as the movies went on. And they did that because of China. China's not exactly the most pro-black country, but they completely removed the lesbian kissing scene in the Chinese version of the movie. The thing I left out is something you just made up.
No, I didn't. You literally left it out in your Imprisonment Luke video. Hey, future me again. Okay, so things are about to get a little confusing and redundant, so bear with me. This is a clip from your Steven Universe PSA video. This is where you talk about the trainer and admit you argue if gay people have it worse.
I'm just a little bothered about this because I recently discovered my personal trainer is a black Israelite, and we got into an argument about who had more rights, gay people or black people. He told me that any gay slur would be considered a hate crime. And you can say whatever you want to a black person, even the N-word, and nothing bad will happen to you. Which I completely disagree with. I mean, way more people have been cancelled for using the N-word than the British term for a cigarette.
And this is a clip from your Imprisonment Luke video where y'all talk about the Steven Universe PSA video.
Treat gay people the worst.
What the? No! I said there's a lot of homophobia in the black community.
There's a ton of anti-LGBT stuff in the black community that we almost never talk about. I've even met a few black guys who believe that the LGBT community is white.
Not that they treat gay people the worst. putting words in my mouth. Jesus Christ!
He also just flat out says that people who hate interracial couples aren't part of the problem.
I understand there might be a few people in my comment section completely missing the point of this video and taking the least charitable interpretation possible. Please understand, I'm not saying people who don't like interracial couples are a problem. I'm just saying people who have a problem with same-sex couples is a way bigger problem.
Okay, was that poor wording on my part? Absolutely, but you can clearly hear from what I'm saying afterwards that I do still think it's a problem. And I say it's a problem in other parts of the video.
People having a problem with interracial couples is still a thing in our modern times.
Also, you know that interracial gay couples exist, right?
Yeah, I do. It was in the video being talked about.
Is it possible that in real life 2 boys, 1 black, 1 white said they want to get married when they got older?
Like, what is even your point here? I'm so confused. Do interracial couples have it bad? Sure. Do same-sex couples have it worse? Arguably. Do same-sex interracial couples have it even worse than the other two? Definitely.
As you can see, the bit about the trainer is nowhere to be seen. So as I said, you purposely left out the section where you admit to telling your black trainer that gay people have it worse. And notice how he'll argue up and down that he never pinned black people and gay people against each other. Yet, in now 2 separate videos, he admits he thinks homophobia is a more pressing issue than anti-black racism. Even now, he's literally giving more examples as to why he thinks gay people have it worse than black people. I am so sick. At this point, I'm convinced Jar doesn't grasp words and wording. That's the only reason, because this is just weird. Oh my gosh.
And even if I did leave it out, it's just you didn't mention X, therefore biased argument. And if you think about it, my personal trainer was the one who was playing the Oppression Olympics, not me. I mean, he has to be doing some kind of Olympics. He is a personal trainer after all.
Bro, I don't care who started what. I don't care how you think homophobia is a bigger problem than racism. As a black, and a bi, and as a human being, please, just leave us alone. You are a cisgendered, heterosexual white man. You have the privilege to not be affected by any of this. You gain nothing from playing the Oppression Olympics. Please, just leave us alone. Just stop talking about topics you don't have the range for, you'll never experience, and refuse to educate yourself on. Please, just go terrorize some other group. Please, just leave us alone.
6. You attack Milo Stewart for trying to discuss the intersectionality of sexuality and race, and allow your collab partner to use multiple slurs in that video.
I have seen so many YouTubers talking about Black Lives Matter this summer.
I wonder why that is.
The topics like, why is it important, and why do we say Black Lives Matter instead of All Lives Matter?
Well, the main reason is because Black Lives Matter hates white people and are racist towards white people, so to them, their lives don't matter to the Black Lives Matter movement. That's why you don't say All Lives Matter. Because basically now, All Lives Matter is the same equivalent to saying kill all.
Now, Autonomous Prime's points are his points. I don't know what the guy's race is.
His points. The video's on your channel. You saw this and uploaded it to your channel. You co-signed this video. Why were you okay with racial slurs?
Ultimately, when I used to be a part of the anti-SJW community, I was focused on the anti-feminism stuff, and I didn't really get into the whole anti-BLM stuff, aside from, I guess, this video. Autonomous Prime is to the right of me, and while collabing with him on 2 different videos did really well, I ultimately decided not to continue working with him because, well, I thought he was a bit too harsh, and I didn't really agree with everything he was saying. I will say I myself didn't exactly have the best view of BLM, and while I'm sure there are a few BLM people who don't care about the lives of white people, ultimately though, now that I have access to my old channel, I'll try to edit some things out. If I can't, I'll probably just unlist the video.
I mean, yay, but you're not fully grasping the situation. Why did you hear this man use not 1, not 2, but 3 racial slurs back to back, and think, yeah, let's upload this to my channel? Not only that, but you thought, yeah, this is a good guy to work with again. What gets me is that, like, when President Luke said what he said about Hopeless Peaches, the community accused other creators for supporting his claim simply for commenting on the video. Some of these creators are still dealing with this to this day, but just so it makes 2 collab videos of whole ass racist and the community is mute? Really? This is how y'all get down? And then he stopped working with him not because of the racism, but because he was harsh? Was hating minorities not harsh enough for you, Jar? So yay, I guess, for him editing or privating the video. But it's like, why did you think this was okay to begin with? Why did this community think any of this was okay?
A lot of people seem to think that Black Lives Matter pushes their activism into spaces where it is neither relevant nor necessary. However, I believe that we can't really have a conversation about LGBT rights without addressing race.
Well, I think you could very easily talk about LGBT issues without addressing race. I'm not gonna lie, there are parallels. However, to say you can't talk about one without talking about the other is just ridiculous.
Yep, and I 100% stand by that point.
You just an ignorant villain.
Mr. Groening changed, everybody. Bro, you can't talk about one without the other because intersectionality is integral when addressing LGBTQ issues. White LGBTQ folks have the luxury of separating the two because in the US they aren't pressed for their race. We don't get that luxury. We're disproportionately affected by homophobia and transphobia because we aren't white. Us being openly queer and people of color changes everything. Our issues are LGBTQ issues, period. And don't even get me started on the racism and microaggressions we have to deal with within the community. I love how Jar's like, there's a lot of homophobia in the black community that we never talk about, but in the same breath thinks our hardships don't need to be talked about when discussing LGBTQ issues. Like, again, bro, leave us alone. Another thing I forgot to touch on is the fact that LGBTQ people of color, black trans folks especially, are disproportionately affected by police violence and bias. While these issues with the police are prominent problems for LGBTQ folks in general, we're more likely to experience this than white folks, because remember, queer and POC. So again, our issues are LGBTQ issues. They cannot and should not be separated, especially when discussing Black Lives Matter, a movement that was started by queer black folks. Just Robot either needs to educate himself or just stay the hell of our business, because what he's saying is so dangerous and disgusting. While things are getting better, to this day, we still have to fight to be included in the BLM movement. We have to fight to get a fraction of the coverage cishet black folks get. And people like Jar and the Prime Dude make things so much more difficult.
And we can't talk about police brutality without talking about LGBT rights.
Two men should have the right to get married just like a man and a woman. There, I just talked about LGBT rights without talking about police brutality. It's actually quite easy.
When you hit the nail on the head just right, folks. I agree with Jar here. If you guys want to get married and be miserable like the rest of us, go right ahead. Won't stop you. Mostly because I do not care.
My god, half of this video is mine. Get to 1,000 subs already so I can copyright claim it.
It's free real estate.
It's not funny. I'm not laughing.
Remember, this is the same man who whined about being cut out of context to avoid being held accountable for his own actions. Also, thank y'all for 1K. I'm still confused why y'all are here.
After all, a 2013 report from the National Coalition of Anti-Violence Programs details that 67% of the victims of anti-LGBT are transgender women of color.
Okay, first of all, what do you mean by people of color? Do you mean black people or just people who aren't white? And second, what does this have to do with police brutality? I will agree, Milo, that there are many similarities between homophobia and racism. However, that doesn't mean you can't talk about one without talking about the other. Cake and ice cream both taste good. However, you can very easily talk about cake without bringing up ice cream.
And also, if we're really gonna try and go back in time, how about you just call them the coloreds, like the old days?
Okay, I'll give this person a point for showing what Autonomous Prime said in my video. That was pretty messed up of him. But they're just showing what I'm saying without making a single argument. I'm just going to skip ahead to see if there's anything I disagree with nowadays.
When has people of color, a term that was created as a result of white supremacy, ever included white people? Why do you not see anything wrong with that? And why do you still see nothing wrong with comparing the intersectionality of two marginalized groups to cake and freaking ice cream? You essentially think the struggles I face for existing is equivalent of food, and you still see nothing wrong with that. Like, I'm literally about to combust. Also, I rewatched the clips in my video. Here's some things that Just Robot apparently still stands by. Trigger warning for violence against trans people and post nightclub. Here's a tiny step y'all can skip to. Number 1. Discount Prime arguing there's no connection between anti-LGBT attitudes and racism, despite multiple studies proving otherwise. Number 2. Discount Prime arguing that the murder of Raylan Thomas wasn't a hate crime, despite the man who killed her being openly transphobic, and arguing that this isn't part of a larger, ongoing issue of trans women being disproportionately killed because cis women are hurt more. Number 3. Jar comparing a Latino woman trying to share facts about the LGBT movement and people of color to a majority white crowd and vocalizing that to scientific racism, arguing just because something is treated as fact doesn't make it any less bigoted. And number 4. Discount Prime mocking a Latino woman's speech for trying to bring awareness about issues that affected her community. But growth and change, right?
Hi, so I just realized the context as to what Milo was talking about and why they're correct is missing. So I'm going to read this small snippet from this Vox article because I believe it summarized everything perfectly. The article is Whitewashing the Orlando Shooting Victims Only Makes LGBTQ People of Color More Vulnerable to Violence by Michelle Garcia.
I mean, yes, you can bring up that a lot of the victims were Latin, but the Muslim didn't target them for that. He did it because they were gay. Kill them for the color of their skin. And were they really whitewashed? All I heard was that they were gay. Not bringing up someone's race is not whitewashing. If you want to bring up that they're Latin, that's fine. But the guy, at the end of the day, killed them because they were gay.
I literally read and linked an entire article explaining why everything you just said is wrong. Despite having both verbal and virtual access to this article, you comprehended none of it.
90% of the 49 people killed were Latino or Latino descent, specifically 23 victims of Puerto Rican, according to New York Times. Yet when it came time for politicians to extend their thoughts and prayers to the victims, many of them, including Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and House Speaker Paul Ryan, glossed over the fact that the victims were part of these marginalized groups. It was mostly Latinos, as though LGBTQ people could not also be Latino.
How did you come to that conclusion? As far as I'm aware, no one said that all the victims were white, or that most of them were white. And where did anyone imply that those who are of Latino descent can't be gay? What is going on?
But the Times also reported that LGBTQ people are the most likely group to be attacked when compared individually with racial and religious groups. Half of all hate crimes are due to race, with all races combined.
I don't know how true that study is, but it sounds accurate. I mean, there's a lot more people of other races, especially in America, compared to, well, people who are a part of the LGBT. Obviously, if you have more of one group, there's going to be more hate crimes towards that one group just by, well, basic math. But then again, this is not an argument because the guy killed them because they were LGBT and not because of their race. I don't even know the race of the guy who shot up the gay bar because it's not important to me. Let's say it's 100% scientifically proven that people of Latin descent get discriminated against more than LGBT people. Just because people of Latin descent have more hate crimes committed against them, it does not mean if a guy commits a hate crime against gay people and a lot of them happen to be Latin, that it's also a hate crime against people of Latin descent.
Bro, you argued and continue to argue that intersectionality doesn't matter and that it still doesn't matter. The purpose of the article that you refuse to comprehend is to say, hey, the race or ethnicity of the victims do matter. Here's why they matter. I don't care if the shooter didn't target posts based on race. That's not the point. The point is that this had the greatest impact on the Latino LGBTQ community specifically, and they have every right to highlight that if they wish. Especially when this tragedy gave birth to groups and organizations solely dedicated to helping them and the victims' families, because a majority of victims were Latino and needed specific needs. If the race and ethnicity of the victims don't matter, then why are you so opposed to having them discussed? Also, understand that Latino people like the one you and your co-racists mock were also using this as an opportunity to bring awareness to the struggles LGBTQ people of color go through, period. They weren't necessarily saying these struggles contribute to polls. They're saying, like I previously stated, this is why the race or ethnicity matter. And hey, if you care about polls, this is how you can help our communities. And lastly, you are a veteran commentary channel. If you have suspicions about statistic, research it. Find and read the entire study. Better yet, read multiple studies. Educate yourself on topic. Like, why are y'all like this? My gosh, in the overhaul.
That makes it all the more important to avoid whitewashing the victims of the Pulse nightclub shooting. LGBTQ still translate to many people as white, gay, and male.
If I don't mention the shooter's race, does that mean I'm also whitewashing the mass shooter? Just asking. I mean, if you want to make the argument that most people think of a white guy when they hear the word gay, then I can also make the argument that most people think of a white guy when they hear the word mass shooting. But white people do a lot of mass shootings.
It's a false equivalency. The article explained why the race is important and explained how ignoring it contributes to hurting an already vulnerable group. White people in the US don't have to worry about that because they're the majority. They aren't a vulnerable group and won't face any systemic ramifications for their race. Meanwhile, highlighting a non-white shooter's identity in the same way as the victims will hurt vulnerable groups because mainstream media bias and ignorance. There's a vast difference between how mainstream media treats white shooters compared to non-white ones, but that's another topic for another video. Anyway, people want the victims' identities highlighted and remembered to solve a problem. People want the shooter's identity highlighted and remembered to feed into xenophobia and Islamophobia. Not the same. Why are you trying to make a counter-argument to not erasing LGBTQ identities? Like, what's wrong with you?
So yeah, I hope with the added context you can understand why what was said in that clip was so disgusting and just flat out wrong.
Actually, you didn't make a single argument, you just read an article which literally debunks none of what I just said. And isn't this a form of oppression Olympics? A guy specifically goes to a gay bar, gay people, and you say, but what about POCs?
Just because you don't understand the point that's being made doesn't mean they don't exist, my guy. And yes, y'all heard that right. According to JAR, wanting to include intersectionality to bring awareness to the struggles LGBTQ people of color face is a form of oppression Olympics. This man's hopeless.
When it's a hate crime against a POC, I'll call it a hate crime against a POC. When it's a hate crime against a gay person, I'm going to call it a hate crime against a gay person.
Or you could, just be quiet. Like you clearly can't be trusted to talk about either of these topics. For me, being loud and wrong does more harm than silence, so just be quiet and leave us alone, please.
I did some more research, and it says that the perpetrator called 911, telling them that it was an act of retaliation for the airstrike, the killing of, among others, ISIL militant Abu Wahib in the previous month. He told the negotiator to tell America to stop the bombing. This is straight from the Wikipedia article even. It does mention that someone who claimed to know him believed it could have had some racial motivations against Latino men because he was supposedly afraid he had contracted an STD from a gay man of Latino descent. Though this is ultimately speculation of the friend, and I don't think it's nearly as concrete as the words that came out of the perpetrator's mouth as he was committing the crime. Though it does warrant mention, and I do think that while oftentimes minorities aren't always represented in LGBTQ spaces, in this particular instance, I'm honestly not sure that negating to mention that was disregarding that whole fact in and of itself. But feel free to leave your opinions in the comments because I'm really not sure about this.
If you aren't sure, then why are you talking about the topic? I'm disregarding the other stuff because I'm just gonna be repeating what I already said about the inclusion, intersectionality, and why. Anyway, if you're gonna come in here, Wikipedia article in hand, at least have a concrete opinion about the argument you're trying to debunk, quote unquote. I mean, it won't change the fact that we're arguing about two different things because, again, I take issue with Jar and his co-racist attacking Milo Stewart for trying to discuss intersectionality, as well as him arguing that it doesn't matter when it does, regardless of the shooter's intent. But, bro, come on, like, if you're gonna jump, know how to fight. Like, that's the easiest way I can explain this.
Milo Stewart, who I'm pretty sure was still a minor at the time, was just trying to use their privilege as a white person to bring more awareness to this issue.
The issue that a bunch of people who were killed because they were gay just so happened to be Latino. Whether Milo was a minor at the time or not, it's not an argument and I don't give a. Milo Stewart unironically thinks that all white people are racist, all men are misogynistic, and that all cis people are transphobic.
All white people are racist, all men are misogynistic, all cisgender people are transphobic, all members of a majority are biased against the members of the minority or oppressed group.
Milo Stewart gave a shout out to Ghazi Kozo, who's an anti-Semite, and my favorite black supremacist on the internet. Seriously, you guys gotta go check out Ghazi Kozo.
All white people are racist.
Each and every one of them!
They unironically believe that we should shut down all prisons and all police stations and just have social workers handle everything.
Oh, but you see, Jar, part of the reason why I mentioned Milo's age is because you set that precedent in your Prison Look video.
He has been called out by people like Just Stop, Spocter, and even Pyrocynical. His response to Just Stop was just god-awful, and Just Stop debunked him in the comments section. It's pretty pathetic that a 16-year-old made you this upset, Luke.
Or does that standard not apply to yourself? And the other reason I mention it is because Jar and other anti-SJW YouTubers seem to have normalized going after literal children, which, on a moral and logical level, is very disturbing. I don't think teenagers are immune to actual criticism, not to be confused with Jar's ignorant videos, because everyone messes up. But as adults, it's our jobs to be mindful that not only are you dealing with a child, but that the internet hates children and will go out of their way to bully them, especially when your large audience consists of anti-SJWs. Milo Stewart had hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people against them for years, starting as a teenager. In their video, I Survive Anti-SJW YouTube, they opened up about how this affected them and how it still affects them. I'll leave a link in the description below and I highly recommend y'all watch it. The fact that Jar doesn't care that he contributed even slightly to harassment that caused a child to want to end their life, that not only says everything about him as a content creator but as a person. Because regardless about how you feel about Milo Stewart, regardless of the wrongdoings, a somewhat decent person should be able to recognize that, hey, a bunch of adults going after a child in the name of anti-social justice is pretty messed up, and I should not participate in that. Moving forward, for those of you who don't know, when Milo Stewart was a teenager, they made a video about implicit bias. Implicit bias being when you have attitudes towards people or associate stereotypes with them unconsciously. Milo was trying to verbalize how all people of majority have implicit bias towards those of a minority, and that in order to properly address implicit bias, you can't be afraid to call it what it is. And what they called it was straight up racism and transphobia. I'll leave a link in the description below so y'all can watch it yourselves. I agree with the overall message about the existence of implicit bias and how it's necessary for people to address it, but I don't think every white person is racist, and neither does Milo. Very interesting how Jar purposely left out the fact that they addressed this video and the endorsement of Ghazi back in 2017 and this year. Here's what Milo had to say about that video now. In full transparency, I'm gonna have to cut the clip because it's really long, so I'll link the full video.
Some people will probably want me to talk about where I stand on my implicit bias video today. Basically, that video was a poor explanation of implicit biases. I absolutely still agree that implicit biases exist, and I think that allies and organizers need to become more aware of their implicit biases and how they show up in their work and in their relationships in a community. Every person is capable of harm, and that includes being complicit in or actively perpetrating systems of oppression. I think as white people, we need to realize that we have probably already done something in our lifetimes that has hurt people of color, or we will definitely do something racist in our lifetimes. We can't be anti-racist if we don't recognize our own capacity to perpetrate harm, even unintentionally, and make sure we know how to listen when we're called out. Even when we're not perpetrating harm, we're usually benefiting from or complicit in white supremacy unless we're actively challenging it. Acknowledging that myself makes it easier to accept when I have done harm and then work to repair the harm and prevent it in the future. Whether or not I should have called implicit biases, racism, transphobia, etc. is a question that I don't know the answer to. Kat Black made a Twitter thread talking about why she doesn't think that all white people are racist, which I'll link below. I think it is a super important important to consider a lot of different perspectives on this topic. The reaction that I got from this video makes it really clear why it is important for everyone to acknowledge their capacity for harm. I think it is really painfully clear that I was trying to have a deeper conversation about racism than most people responding could actually understand. Most of the people responding seem to have very elementary understandings of what racism is, like in the thought that racism is only hating a person of color because of their race, and not in the way that power imbalances perpetrate systemic racism within our own relationships. So many white folks took my video as a personal attack, which makes me wonder, if you're so confident that you're anti-racist, why does a 17-year-old white teenager saying that implicit biases exist make you feel so insecure that you have to proclaim that you're not a racist? Maybe your actions should speak for themselves if you're actually anti-racist, but that's just my thought. Whether or not my video was a good explanation of implicit biases, it created racial stress in a mostly white audience that caused that audience to lose its ability to respond in constructive ways. The result was an angry hate mob targeting a teenager that often resulted in insults and transphobic comments being thrown my way. Because, you know, bullying a trans teenager is a great way to show that you're not transphobic. Add in some racist jokes, and you're really on your way to making a point. My video was an attempt to challenge white fragility, but clearly I lacked the language to be able to explain that. For a while, I thought about remaking my implicit bias video because I thought I could re-argue my points better. After my videos kept getting hate into 2017, I realized that a remake probably wouldn't perform any better because a lot of the people responding to my videos were actually just racist or were just really not trying to understand my argument. I sometimes get asked if I regret making the implicit bias video, and so I want to talk about that because no, I don't regret making that video. There's things that I for sure wish I could have done better about that video. I for sure wish I had put more thought into how I can better convey my message. I wish I had thought about what impact it has for a white person to be talking about the subject. I definitely wish that I hadn't cited Ghazi codes though, and I apologize for that before because that was a mistake. But at the same time, I definitely feel like I am the person I am today because I dealt with the response that I got from that video, and I learned a lot about myself and about the internet and about how white people think about racism through the experience of posting my implicit bias video and getting this massive response. I really fully believe that it wasn't my responsibility to try and control the responses that people had to my video. Yes, I could have better anticipated how people would respond and try to prevent some of the angry responses. I think the people at fault were the adults attacking a teenager online in front of an audience of millions of people, and not the teenager who didn't know how to perfectly word a fairly abstract concept about racism.
Not only is this another example of Jar just bringing up unrelated situations as a deflection tactic, but it's also another example of him just holding creators to a different standard from himself. Time and time again, he and his stands are like, I already apologized, I already addressed that, people need to move on. Then by your logic and your logic alone, why are you bringing up something Milo addressed both as a teenager and as an adult? And while we're here, let's talk about the police and prison abolishment video because, of course, Jar doesn't understand abolition. First of all, this isn't anything new. Black and brown folks have been fighting for this for decades. The reason they're advocating for abolishment is because these systems are too corrupt to be saved. The foundation of policing and imprisonment in the United States is racism, white supremacy, and money. That's just a fact, and we're constantly seeing the repercussions of it. So think of it as a foundation of a building, right? It doesn't matter what kind of renovations you do. If that foundation is screwed up beyond repair, the whole thing's got to go. Kind of like the commentary community. Anyway, abolitionists aren't saying let criminals run free and no one to stop them, yay! They're saying, hey, this system isn't working. Let's get rid of it and replace it with alternatives that have been proven to work. And I already know the people who lack nuance are going to take this and say I'm endorsing everything Milo Stewart has ever done since birth. I just don't like how Jar made Milo out to be crazy for being an abolitionist because he's too ignorant to research the topic before speaking on it.
But these two grown men freaking attacked him for it.
What was Optimus Prime's age back then? Mind telling me? Oh, you don't know? Surprising. And for the last fucking time, stop calling criticism attacking. I'm kind of getting sick of it.
Whoa! That's interesting, but I sure don't care.
How you gonna get on me about not verifying dude's age when you didn't verify his race before he dropped racial slurs in y'all's collab video? And years later, you still don't know his race. Regardless, yeah, I can own up and say I shouldn't have said grown men without being sure dude was grown. I'll be more careful in the future. That said, bro, I'm getting sick of you jumping the marginalized group's business being loud or wrong, but here we are. There's a difference between valid criticism and joining an anti-SJW campaign, speaking on a subject you refuse to educate yourself on, and spreading dangerous misinformation. You, sir, did the latter. So, I'll say it again, Just a Robot and the other racist robot person attacked Milo Stewart for trying to discuss the intersectionality of sexuality and race, and still sees nothing wrong with it.
I don't know where to begin with the Buzzfeed and Trump supporting videos.
I mean, the other choice was Hillary, and you always vote for the person who you think is the least bad. I was a Bernie bro at first, but after Hillary stole the election from him, I wanted to get back and vote for Trump. But even then, I actually didn't vote for Trump, I just claimed I did for the meme. At the time, I lived in California, and why would I even bother voting for him? It's California, it's gonna go to Hillary no matter what. It's not about the popular vote, it's about the electoral vote. Only thing I voted for at the time was the legalization of marijuana. Any support I had for Trump quickly disappeared after he banned trans people from the military. And I personally was a bigger fan of Trump during his Reform Party days. Ultimately, I was hoping that Trump would make the Republican Party more open to LGBT ideas, but obviously that really didn't happen. Still, he was a lot better than Bush. Fuck that guy. If Bernie got elected, it would be the greatest thing ever. He wouldn't get a single policy passed.
Wait. It took Donald Trump banning trans people from the military for you to drop him? Literally, the entire election was people of color from all walks of life saying, hey, please don't elect this man. He is dangerous. If you elect him, these are the bad things that can happen. We are scared. Please don't do this. The entire election, we were saying and showing how this man was openly, unapologetically racist and was emboldening other races to be the same. People of color were literally scared for their rights and safety and expressed that on a daily basis. But it took Donald Trump banning trans people from the military for you to think, maybe this isn't someone to get behind. And okay, we already established that racism isn't a deal breaker for you. So let's put that to the side. LGBTQ folks were also expressing their fears. We were saying, hey, Trump is appointing or supporting openly homophobic people. We are scared. We were saying this the entire time, the entire election. But it took Donald Trump banning trans people from the military for you to realize he wasn't an ally to LGBTQ folks. Also, I guess my bad for believing Jar when he said he voted for Trump. Like, he didn't exactly give me a reason to believe otherwise.
Were all my answers to the BuzzFeed questions perfect? No. Would I go back and change a few of them? I guess. But if they didn't want those questions to be answered, they wouldn't have asked them. How would you feel if I made a video called Questions a White Guy Has for Black People?
So with the knowledge that your BuzzFeed videos were seen as offensive, and that they make up a portion of the reason why I think you're racist, you respond, you guess you would change some things? You guess? Maybe don't make them period? And okay, let's get this to Jar. Let's say that they ask white people, so a white person should be able to answer. You respond to 27 questions black people have for black people, bro. Like no one was talking to you. Why are you here? You don't have to arrange for these conversations. Leave us alone. And I'm not even going to text how you collab with Trio Logic, even though it's very, very tempting because you want to get on Milo Stewart for shouting out bigoted people? Really, Jar? Are you sure you want to play that game?
When confronted with all this and then some, your immediate reaction was to double down.
Yeah! Wait, what? No! I apologize for the stuff I thought was true, and for the stuff that wasn't true I debunked. Did I double down?
Use the I'm not racist, I have black friends that subscribe as excuse.
I actually said the opposite. I know plenty of hoteps who date white guys and white girls. The most racist white guy I know dated a black girl. I literally said the opposite. This is a blatant lie.
Okay, first things first. You can't debunk racism, dude. Like, you can't debunk something as not being offensive to other people. If someone's holding you accountable for your actions and instead of just apologizing and reflecting, you try to debunk and deny, guess what? You're doubling down. This video you made, trying to say what is or isn't offensive to me, because you don't think you did anything wrong, you're doubling down. And yes, I truly appreciate your apology for using the N-word, where you claim it's only racist when it's directed at someone, and you admit that you will continue to use it, and then get mad at my black ass for not being okay with that. But it's such a genuine, heartfelt apology, you guys. Second, bro, your actions speak for themselves. When you first got called out for your offensive content, all you had to do was leave things like your My Response video. This community doesn't care about anti-black racism and has a collective attention span of a piece of toast. Like, people will have forgotten after a week. But no, you decided to try to debunk racism, which as I just stated isn't a thing, and have various black creators in that video. So let's run this back. In response to being called out for your racist actions, instead of just taking full accountability, educating yourself, and just being a responsible adult about the whole thing, you decided to make a video to debunk racism. And included black creators who don't think you're racist to help your argument. Bro, intentional or not, that's a form of I'm not racist, I have black friends / subscribers. Even in this video to me, you're like, but what about the black people who don't think I'm racist? Do their voices not matter? And you showed a bunch of comments. It doesn't matter if you don't verbally say the quote, your actions are doing the talking for you. And to clarify, again, because I know how some of y'all are, I don't care about black folks giving their opinions about Jar and defending him. That's not my issue. My issue is, if you argue that you've grown and changed, that you're sorry to the minorities you've hurt, and that you're fine people think you're a racist, which you actually said in this Prism Leak video, by the way, then why do you need to showcase creators defending you in your video? That goes against everything you claim to stand for. Talking about, I'm taking accountability, but here's a list of creators defending me, links in the description. One of these creators is a known racist, but just ignore that and the fact that I was a guest on him and his friend's channel. Like, bro, come on, weak.
If a black person calls me racist, I'm not automatically racist. If a black person says I'm not racist, it doesn't automatically make me not racist.
And you said black friends / subscribers to dismiss our criticism of you.
People told me, hey, you're white, you don't get to decide what is and isn't racist. So then I pointed out that yes, my black roommate, Shady Do-Rags, Hi Fluffy 420, don't think I'm racist. And you guys are perfectly welcome to criticize me, but you're not welcome to lie about me. I like how you always call your lies criticisms and my criticisms attacks. It's pretty manipulative.
But you decided it anyway. You've been doing that this entire video. You literally pulled up the definition of blackface to a black person. You've been deciding what is or isn't anti-black racism this whole time. If you put black creators in your video because you acknowledge that you can't decide what is or isn't racist, then why in the Cementos did you make this video in the Praise Luke video? If you know you don't have a say in any racial topics, then how is it lies and manipulation when I say this clip is personally offensive to me, y'all make your own decisions? Why are you arguing against something you yourself admit you don't have a say in? And if you're so adamant that black people saying you are or aren't racist doesn't mean you are or aren't racist, which tangent this is still a flawed mindset because you should be listening as to why people think you're racist and fix that behavior, then why does it bother you and your minions that I personally think you're racist? Like, why are we here? I've never seen such inconsistent behavior in my life, bro. Like, I could easily make a 20-minute video of Jar just contradicting himself, no commentary. Something else I want to add, almost all the clips we went through either consisted of minorities talking about issues that actively affected them, or a message to discourage some form of bigotry. Jar decided he didn't like this, and that's the reason we're here today. In order for criticism to be criticism, there has to be some form of basic logic, and some form of factual knowledge / experience on topic that's being discussed. There's no logic behind you telling a black man how to feel about the N-word. There's no logic behind you telling a queer person when they shouldn't discuss intersectionality in their own community. There's no logic behind you coming in our business, period. You built your channel for being loud, wrong, and bigoted. So I say you attack these creators, I stand by it, and I'll say it again. Just about attacked these creators, and still sees nothing wrong with it.
Even now you're showing that you haven't learned a thing.
Really, because I sat down and spoken with my roommate plenty of times, and he has told me stories of things he had to deal with because of the way he was born. And I told him about struggles I had to deal with because of my autism, and we both came to a greater understanding of each other.
Sir, what does that have to do with what's currently being discussed? You can't claim to have learned anything when this entire video is you standing by things I criticized you for.
Like, y'all are screaming about accountability, holding other people accountable, and allyship, being allies POC, but refuse to check this man. Like,
It's so blatant that no one has been able to use the definition against me. And if I'm so racist, fuck would I apologize?
You to apologize to.
Even then, most of your examples are from years ago, so at best it would prove that I used to be racist.
Not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
I'll admit, I used to be homophobic. I don't discriminate or have any bigoted intentions towards anyone of any race. Plenty of videos have already been made on me. I have apologized. I was held accountable. What more could you want? I'll tell you what they want. They want me gone, permanently. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm staying.
They ain't getting rid of me. I'm not getting rid of me. I'm staying here.
Guys, I'm sorry for the racist actions I constantly make excuses for, but also this black woman for not accepting my non-apologies. I don't have to apologize to people I offended. The lack of self-awareness this man has is astounding. At this point, I'm just repeating what's already been said. Jar has a narrow-minded understanding of racist and will argue how he doesn't fit it even though he does. Every apology is filled with buts, excuses, and denial of any wrongdoing, and his current actions negate any argument that he's grown. Same old, same old. Something I find interesting and, if I'm being honest, pathetic, is his mindset that the reason I criticize him is because I want him gone. Like, let's rewind to how all this started. So Jar will support the narrative that he was falsely labeled a racist, will argue with people of color about racial slurs, will admit that he will continue to use the N-word after apologizing for it, and repeat the same mistakes over and over. But because I criticize him for all that, because I do what literally every other commentary channel does, that means I want him off the platform. Like, I keep trying to find another word to describe this mindset, but I just keep coming back to pathetic. I'm sorry, like, you've been doing this for how many years? Bro, no one's obligated to accept your apology, especially when it's about anti-black racism, and especially when your actions, aka this video, exposes how you truly feel. Someone who regrets their racist actions and actually listens to what people are saying don't make videos like this. Had Jar just reflected and stopped trying to argue to people he's supposedly apologetic towards for the actions he's supposedly apologetic for, none of this would be happening. Heck, had he left things at his My Response video, I'd still be lenient towards him. Lastly, he says people make videos about me, I've been held accountable. There's more videos defending you than there are critical of you, my guy. Literally, no one else was calling you out in racism, that's why I made my videos. The only person who was somewhat in depth about it, you asked them to remove their videos, so please show me all the videos holding you accountable for your racism.
Turkey Tom has done a few questionable things and has been called out by channels way bigger than himself, and he's still on YouTube. Keemstar is still around, idubbz is still around, hYpErBoLiCaLlY is still around. Because saying the N-word doesn't get you permanently cancelled. The only two things that can cancel you are pee-pee around kids and yourself.
Okay, one, we already established that you did more than just say the N-word. I don't know why you use that as an example, and even then, black folks have every right to hold that against people. Two, bringing up unrelated problematic YouTubers doesn't help your situation or argument. If anything, it helps mine. The YouTube commentary community doesn't care about racism, especially anti-black racism. I can't speak on Pyro because I don't know them, nor do I care to, but all these other people have a history of doing bigoted, offensive things with little to no consequences. And when you try to hold them accountable, you know the thing these channels are known for doing, people like the Robot Man will equate that to canceling. To combat the toxic cancel culture, the fan bases and occasionally the creators themselves will silence or troll the minorities who are rightfully offended. I've seen it time and time again. So thanks, Jar, for establishing and contributing to a pattern of behavior that supports why I do what I do.
I'm done talking about this video. I could have gone through more stuff like her bringing up Omnia's apology video, which I kind of find hilarious considering Omnia took down that video several weeks ago. And I heard that Omnia is no longer sorry to Hopeless Peaches and she's gonna make another video on her. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm really done with the Hopeless Peaches situation. I was bashing on CreepShowArt long before it was cool. A lot of people didn't like me at the time, and I put myself at massive risk when I made my video defending her. And it hurt me that CreepShowArt did not make any effort to make amends with Peaches despite everything I did. I can't believe you made this entire video just because I left a comment. Not even because of the comment, just the first couple of words of the comment.
When did I bring up Omnia's apology video? The only time they were even brought up was when I was recapping y'all's Toby video, and that was the catalyst of all of this, so it's relevant. Do y'all know what he's talking about here? And what the heck does Omnia's beef with Peaches gotta do with me and my criticisms of your actions, Jar? Like, yet again, he's deflecting by bringing up unrelated situations. Stay on topic. And I already explained twice how it wasn't just a comment, so I'm not gonna repeat myself again.
Emily Artful used to be an anti-feminist, just like me, and she hearted my comment. So I don't see how you guys came to the conclusion that I was trying to distract from her story and make it all about me. I helped out Hopeless Peaches, and so did Emily Artful, but I didn't even know about her existence until she made her CreepShowArt video. So if she doesn't like me, that's up to her.
Emily's opinion of you was never a talking point in my video. Other people were saying you made things about yourself. I say you victimized yourself in her comment section. That's it. If you're making a response video to me specifically, can you please make it apparent that you're not conflating my criticisms with other people's? Especially when you're not even going to finish my video to your audience. Also, unlike you, Jar, Emily actually understands what it means to take accountability and grow. Maybe take some notes.
In this video, you defended people like T-Moss Boss, who called the entire Thomas the Tank Engine adult fan base.
If you're 13 or 20, 19, 22, or any other age, you're 40-something years old, and you're still watching that Thomas the Tank video, I would not be surprised if you were in prison, okay, for a child.
And I already talked plenty about what he did to Joshua.
R.I.P. to his mom. Like, no disrespect to her, but it's like, your son's out here living foul. Like, I just want that to be addressed right now. Your son's out here living very, very wrong, so hopefully one day it's like people realize that exploiting a dead woman, it's like, it's kind of wrong. Bro, like, why are you exploiting your mom for views? Do I still feel like all apologetic for it and stuff? No, I don't.
Now, this is a section where Jar reminds everyone that he lacks the concept of nuance. You know, the thing any sensible commentary channel requires. Me criticizing your actions does not equate to being pro T-Moss Boss.
You defended people like Prison Mate Luke, who's a well-known liar, and called Peaches a baiter.
If you need a break, you need one. I'm not saying you don't have mental health problems, but you would constantly come back to post more things than beg for sympathy. And when you were getting genuine criticism for all the garbage you've done, you decided I'd bait your audience.
Me giving my 2 cents about your bad response to Prison Mate Luke does not mean I'm pro Luke and agree with him calling Peaches a baiter. What is y'all's obsession with throwing this at people? Like, it's getting weird. And let's really think about what Jar is saying here. Me giving my 2 cents about his bad response to Luke, as a black person who's actually affected by the topics being discussed, means I'm defending Prison Mate Luke and every wrong thing he's ever done. Like, this mindset of, if you're against me, then you're with them is childish, bro. It's grade school, you're grown. Another thing that gets me is that this man in his stands will be like, Prison Mate Luke did X, Y, and Z. It will make sure everyone remembers it. Like, it doesn't matter if it's unrelated to the topic at hand or the criticisms. They will squeeze it in there and scream it from the rooftops. But when Just About collabs with blatant bigots on at least 3 separate occasions, when he promotes Sin's video, when the man's been racist and never hit it, and later went on Sin and his friends podcast panel thing, crickets. Y'all are full of it. Like that's the nice way I can say it. Y'all are full of it.
T-Moss Boss, CreepShowArt, Prison Mate Luke have all called me racist, and they've all proven to be worse people than me. If I'm such an evil, terrible racist, then why does it seem like everybody who calls me it end up revealing themselves to be even worse than I am? I'm not racist. I have been racially insensitive before, and I am going to work on that. And I have worked on it.
Hey, I have a secret. Come closer. Multiple people can be in the wrong at the same time. and their wrongdoings don't vindicate you of your own, nor do they negate my numerous problems with you. Once again, you are grown. Stop with the childish mindset. I also like how he says, I'm not racist, I've been racially insensitive, and I've worked on it. When 1, being racially insensitive still isn't good. 2, there's a thin line between the two, and after multiple and repeated instances of being racially insensitive, specifically in regards to anti-blackness, I have the right to call you racist. And 3, this entire video proves that no, you have not worked on it and you do not care to. How are you going to claim to have worked on your racial insensitivity while simultaneously denying you did offensive things? And this is a hot take I know I'm going to get a lot of pushback for, but for me, myself personally, with the exception of Creepshow Art, you've done more harm to this platform than the people you mentioned. Like, do you understand how influential anti-SJW content is and how easily it leads people down the pipeline? Not to mention, literally every single one of those videos, you're uninformed and spread misinformation. Like, bro, your content was, and to a certain extent still is, so dangerous, and you don't care. So they may not be good people, but for differing reasons, neither are you.
You claim that I revived the Toby drama, which I still don't understand what people mean by that, but you're trying to revive the drama with me and Prisonmate Luke. You're literally talking about videos that are now unlisted. Yes, I am still bashing Prisonmate Luke, but I'm talking about specifically the drama directly between me and him, not all the recent things I've said about him.
I also want to add that when Creepshow Art was first exposed for being a demon, people were looking at everyone she ever criticized and were questioning whether or not it was warranted. A lot of people shared Jar's mindset that if Creepshow Art is a bad person, then it automatically negates any criticism or arguments against the creator she talked about. Because again, this community doesn't understand nuance. I saw people like Jar and his stands were using this situation to their advantage, and I want there to at least be some documented opposition this time around, otherwise history would just repeat itself. I mean, I already explained this in my videos, but we already established Jar doesn't do his research, so I guess I'll help him with his job. Again. The reason I and apparently other people say y'all revived Toby drama is because y'all did just that. No one was talking about it anymore and everyone involved was moving on, until y'all came along late and by your own admission, misinformed. If you need a refresher, Jar, just watch Spoctor's video on it, he did a decent job. Anyway, the difference between the Toby drama and this is that racism isn't drama, nor does it have an expiration date. In Emily Arfo's comment section, you were supporting the narrative that you were falsely labeled a racist, that you debunked everything, and that all in all you learned nothing. Seeing all this, I was like, no ma'am, and gave my opinion regarding the Luke video, because it was relevant to that conversation. And this video proved that I made the right decision because, my gosh, you're way worse than I originally thought. What you seem to forget, Jar, is that it was never just drama between you and Luke. A vast majority of the video was y'all discussing people of color and anti-black racism, aka topics that actually involve and affect me as someone in this space. That's not the same as y'all talking about Toby just cuz. So to recap, because you and yourselves were saying that you being a racist has been debunked, citing your Prisonmate Luke video as proof, then I got the Prisonmate Luke video and said, as a black person, here's why I personally think that's not true. As a result of y'all repeatedly citing a source, I reviewed that source. Shocking concept, I know.
And I think you're when you said you made this video because of my comment. I think you made this video because you had a chance to link it to the Creepshow Art drama so it would get a lot more views. If Prisonmate Luke's video on me didn't really turn me into a bandwagon, then what makes you think you can? A whole bunch of smaller YouTubers are now making videos on you, and rightfully so.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna be real. This really pisses me off, so apologies if I sound more aggressive or chaotic than usual. You honestly think that if I was in this for views, I'd be talking about just a freaking robot of all people? In a situation where the largest art commentary channel on YouTube is being exposed, instead of taking that and milking it for all it's worth like a lot of y'all did, it'd be more beneficial for me to talk about just the freaking robot over Creepshow Art herself. Really? Like the ego of this man. I have no social media presence and I haven't even applied for monetization despite being eligible since July. If I was in this for attention, don't you think those would be the first things I'd be on top of? Also, talking about projection, I'm not you, Jar. I don't hop on a story because it's trending and it will get me a check. I talk about what I talk about because it affects me, I'm passionate about it, and I need an outlet because no one in my real life knows what the heck I'm talking about. I know I said this earlier, but I can't express how insulting it is for this white man to imply I don't really care about anti-black racism. Which, fun fact, is also a form of anti-blackness. Good job, Jar. Like, this isn't fun, bro. Subjecting myself to your ignorance is emotionally draining. That's another reason why it took so long to upload this video. This is triggering and exhausting. Lastly, notice how me giving my personal opinion about Jar and encouraging people to form their own opinions has turned to me trying to create a bandwagon against him. Like, yes, I have the power to turn an entire community against a veteran commentator with a combined audience of over 200k. Might impact y'all, but in all seriousness, this once again comes off as projection. This is his mindset when he makes videos against other people, so he assumes everyone else is the same. And peep how, when I make videos about Jar, because I was personally offended by the actions he claims he's apologetic for, they're lies, bandwagon hate, and proof I want him off YouTube. But when creators make videos about me, it's well deserved because you think I'm full of BS. This is the same man that claims he doesn't mind when people make videos about him, that he doesn't mind when people hold him accountable, and that he cares about black voices. But I'm full of it, okay? And I just realized, wouldn't him promoting videos about me technically count as trying to start a bandwagon? Like, hey guys, this small channel thinks I'm a racist because I did racist things. Here's their name and thumbnail. And watch these videos my subscribers made about her defending me. Like, obviously I'm biased, so y'all let me know.
I do hope to live to see the day when discrimination is over. But one of the steps to achieving that goal is to not dilute the term racism, or to tell people that they're not allowed to use their blackness if they're defending someone they like. Am I annoyed by this situation? Yes, but it's not going to ruin me. Anyways, if you guys want to see a really good video actually about real racism, check out the last video I did with my best buddy Professor Dreadlock!
I do hope to see the day where discrimination is over. Well, you know how that's going to be achieved? By listening to minorities when they say something's offensive to them and not thinking that you, a white man, understand racism better than them. You want to stop racism? Look in the mirror and start there. And I did not say don't use your blackness to defend people you like. I said don't use your blackness to discredit other black folks. The fact that you think they're the same just shows you don't have the range for this conversation. There's a vast difference between as a black person, I personally don't think Jar is racist. Here's why. Versus as a black person, Jar can't be racist, and here's why the people who think otherwise are dumb. AKA what a lot of your black subs like to do and have been doing for months.
Bro, I am so tired of this man trying to tell me what racism is. Like, I'm sorry, but if you have to pull out the definition of racism, you don't know what it is, and you have no business talking about race issues. Like, you're basically admitting to not understand the complexities and nuances of racism and how it's evolved over time. And I don't expect Jar to fully grasp the concept of racism. He's a white dude in America.
So by definition, I'm not racist. Okay. One of the many definitions for racism was being prejudiced. If I'm not prejudiced, then I guess I'm not a bad person. And if I won't get it because I'm white, then, why are we having this conversation at all?
That last avatar picture was nice. I think I'll use it as my thumbnail. And this is actually a perfect example of Jar cutting context to misrepresent an argument. You know, one of the things y'all exile prison Luke for supposedly doing. Anyway, here's a refresher of what I said in that clip.
Bro, I am so tired of this man trying to tell me what racism is. Like, I'm sorry, but if you have to pull out the definition of racism, you don't know what it is, and you have no business talking about race issues. Like, you're basically admitting to not understanding the complexities and nuances of racism and how it's evolved over time. And I don't expect Jar to fully grasp the concept of racism. He's a white dude in America. Like, when you're not part of a group of people, you're going to be more ignorant to the struggles. This doesn't just go for race, this goes for anything, really. For example, me, a neurotypical person, is naturally going to be less knowledgeable about neurodivergency than Jar, who's on the spectrum. I can do my best to educate myself and actually listen to neurodivergent people, but I'm always going to be less knowledgeable than someone who actually has to live these experiences. And that's okay, but like, when you don't fully grasp the concept of something, it's okay to be quiet. Like, it's okay to just, mind your business and eat your food.
Well said, past me. Good job. In conclusion, this video just showed me like Just Robot is the same racist, uninformed, anti-SJW he always was, the only difference being that he changed his content. He has made it abundantly clear that he's willfully ignorant and intends to stay that way. And there's no resolution to the situation. The commentary community will continue to give him pass after pass whilst coming for anyone who criticizes him. And Jar will continue to be irresponsible with his platform by being too lazy to do basic research, spreading misinformation, purposely misrepresenting valid arguments, speaking over minorities, and just his overall refusal to be held accountable for any of it. So I no longer have any hope nor respect for this man, and I think talking to a brick wall will provide more promising results. But hey, all this is just my personal opinion that no one asked for.
It's done. Yes, Mr. Frodo. It's over now.
And we are finally done. This video was a literal nightmare, and I never want to make something this big ever again. If you made it this far into this behemoth of a video, thank you so much. You're a real one and I appreciate it. And I'm really sorry for the content delays, like I know how frustrating that is and I'm going to do better in the future. Just like I said in my last one, after video number 3, I don't want to talk about this man anymore. He exhausts me mentally, emotionally, spiritually, like I can only take so much. So let me reiterate, I do not want to talk about the racist robot man anymore. I've said my piece, I got my grievances out, I want to be done. The stands will probably make video responses to this too, and I said what I said. Have fun amongst yourselves. Thanks for the shoutouts. If the robot man tries me again, the most I'll do is make a community post. I ain't finna play video tag with racists on YouTube. Lastly, y'all please keep it as respectful as possible in the comment section. Discussions and disagreements are fine, just try to keep them productive. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all when I see y'all. So yeah, bye.
Bye, bitch.